This is the Rich Eisen Show.
He is the total package.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com.
David Faraday back here on the show.
Download and podcast at richeisenshow.com.
What do you think of Koepka's mustache?
Is it sort of a 70s porno mustache? I'm not sure.
Today's guests, MLB analyst Tom Verducci, college basketball analyst Jay Bilas, Yahoo NBA insider Chris Haynes, plus actor Hank Azaria. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
All right, everybody. Welcome to this edition of the Rich Eisen Show live on NBCSN for all 3 hours. How about them apples here right in the middle of June? Thrilled to be here on a Los Angeles day. I am your humble host, Rich Eisen. Good to see my gents across the way. There's TJ Jefferson crossing in the back. Instagram living out that shot. Good job. We're live on NBCSN. We're live on our Instagram spot at Rich Eisen Show. Chris Brockmire, Mike Del Tufo. My guys are all here, and hopefully everybody's all enjoying out there on the triple cast here on Sirius XM Channel 211. We are streaming live on our YouTube page. Hello to our folks in the wormhole, as they like to be called it, the 454s out there. We say hello to you. 844-204-RICH is the way for us to say hello to each other this entire show right here live on NBCSN. Hey, it's interesting that we'll start this show right here on NBCSN, congratulating our colleagues at CBS Sports. That was a fun way for the weekend to finish up, and for everybody at the PGA Tour and everybody in Fort Worth, Texas, at the Colonial, everybody behind the Charles Schwab Challenge. It was so much fun to watch Daniel Berger put on the Al Czervik jacket. Yes, that's a little bit of Caddyshack reference, and hold up an absolutely monstrous trophy that I think the reason why the trophy was constructed is that if you place it down, that is 6 feet long. You can be socially distant. That's a great way to measure how socially distant you need to be. And I'll tell you what wasn't very socially distant was that leaderboard, man. And
big names.
Oh my gosh.
Heavy hitters.
And how many putts on 18 needed to drop to join those at 15 under in the clubhouse, but it didn't drop for Bryson DeChambeau, didn't drop for Justin Rose. And then the power lip on 17 for Xander Schauffele. And it looked great and it felt great. And I will be honest with you, I did not miss the fans. I mean, it would have been great to hear the roar of the crowd, but I was flat out into this golf.
It was awesome. It was really fun to watch, and especially the big names really helped. Right. Like Spieth was playing awesome down the stretch.
And then fell off.
And then kind of fell off. And there was drama. It went to a playoff.
Yes.
Schauffele lips out on 17, and then it happens again in the playoff. Like, it was very fun to watch. I really enjoyed it.
I know, and so, congrats to all that put it on, and now heading off to Hilton Head, and hopefully everybody is safe and sound and healthy. And congratulations to Daniel Berger. I mean, 10 weeks off. All these guys came out and they were firing at sticks. It was it was really wonderful to watch, and it was intense, and I was into every last minute of it. And it seems like a member of the tribe took home the trophy. Good. I thought, did I go to summer camp with a Danny Berger? Did I? I think I did.
You most definitely did.
I think I was in bunk 10 with a Danny Berger.
Not the guy that punched you in the...
No. That was, I'll call him out, his guy, Bennett Hirshhorn, who sucker punched me in Trails End Camp, and I still have the scar from it. He once was driving around in Oklahoma City, heard me tell that story, called in to deny it.
Pretty funny.
That was really one of our favorite moments in the history
really
of this show.
Moment. It's up
that
there.
I've seen a ton
it's
of
up there.
we're still out here. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial here today. So again, I'm sitting at home. I say to my kids, hey, there's golf on TV. We all ran to the television set. That happened. 2 weeks ago, Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson and Peyton Manning and Tiger Woods are playing golf. I say, hey, let's watch it. We watched it. Week before, Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy and Ricky Fowler and don't call me Scott Wolf, went out there and we were all sitting there and watching. And Major League Baseball is, in fact, in the process, as we talk, of screwing this whole thing up. Of screwing it up.
Yeah.
Of screwing this whole thing up. Our friend John Heyman from MLB Network, in advance of Tom Verducci calling in about 15 minutes' time. MLB owners are holding a conference call today. We'll let Commissioner Rob Manfred know whether to implement a short season, as allowed by the agreement that we've been talking about for so much, or make a second straight proposal. Early word, not much appetite for making another proposal. What did I tell you? That the minute that the owners thought that they'd be negotiating against themselves, that they would be out. And guess what? Now they know they were negotiating against themselves, because the Major League Players Union on Friday, after we went off the air, sent out a statement saying, we're done. We're done. We agreed that we would be out there for 100% of our salaries at a pro rate based on the number of games that we could agree to. They could never agree to the games because the owners were saying, we cannot afford to pay you 100% of your salary because there are no fans in the stands, and we have already spent a ton of money paying out a bunch of people in our front offices, and we can't afford it, or we don't want to take on the risk, or we are not going to do that, period. And then it leaks that our friends at Turner Sports are going to give Major League Baseball $1 billion over the span of a new deal to cover playoffs and have a new, I guess, Tuesday night baseball instead of a Sunday afternoon on TBS. So it's tough to basically say we can't afford this. We're not going to take the financial risk. We're not going to do this. But, hey, everybody, there's a whole bunch of money that's coming in eventually that could make us whole. And you baseball players, once you agree to not take this money, once you agree to basically say we'll take less than what we agreed to, you can't get that money back. All of us in front offices and owning teams, guess what? If we lose money here, we already know that more money's coming on down the road. Potentially we can make it back if we grow it, and obviously it takes two to tango here, and the players aren't coming to the table and saying, let's have a negotiation, from what it seems, on we'll take less now, and if we play all the games and we get to do it, then we get the 105%. I mean, can't we come up with some sort of method here? Can't we do it?
Something.
For crying out loud. And basically they're going to come out and say, there's baseball, everybody. Come and watch. But who? Is it possible? And you could easily say this, as 21 states, as I heard this morning on multiple news organizations, are beginning to spike over the last 7 or 14 days. This virus is still out there. So players who might not be too keen on this idea of showing up after baseball was saying this, that, the other thing, hey, let's go play, and they haven't even agreed to the health and safety protocols yet. I emailed, or I texted one of my many friends in baseball news gathering.
Sources.
A source, yeah. Well, I mean, they're the ones who have the sources.
Yeah.
As you heard on last night's 30 for 30 documentary, as you told me, I didn't see it last night. My voice was heard as saying he got it for one of the home runs.
Hit the guy.
Was it McGuire or Sosa?
I think it was Sosa.
Okay.
I think it was Sosa.
I've been out of the baseball game for a while, but I texted with somebody who covers this for a living, and I'm saying, have they at least agreed on the health and safety protocols? They haven't. No, it comes back. They haven't agreed on health and safety protocols yet. And I said, are you kidding me? There wasn't even a dual track conversation where, hey, we can all figure out what's going on, dollars and cents, and somebody else from Major League Baseball and somebody else from the union can hammer out health and safety protocols. So at least we got that. So I said, there hasn't been a dual track conversation. I got back, ha, 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 ha. Like laughter. That's what it spelled out. Ha.
How many ha's?
If I had to guess just off the top of my head, I mean, I don't want to take the time to look down at my phone and
I got it.
Stare at it so it's unlocking. Wait a minute, that actually just worked.
But I mean, the length
about
of
6 or 7.
That's a lot. That's a lot of ha's.
Which is
that's a lot of ha's.
For those who may not be conversant on the ha front, that is you're telling that would make sense.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
I said to my 9-year-old, my 6-year-old, okay, my 11-year-old, hey, golf's on. They ran into the room. Could you imagine if I said, hey, Padres Diamondbacks are on? They'd run in the room.
Play ball.
And I guarantee you, they would say, does that mean we can go to a game? I guarantee you they would say that, and I would say no. And I'll just share this. You know, we had an afternoon, because as you know, beaches are open here in Southern California.
Yep.
We took the kids Friday afternoon after the show to a beach, socially distant, wearing masks. We did what we had to do, even though the rest of the country appears to be thinking this is over and nobody's walking around with masks. At any rate, this is what we do. This is what we read we're supposed to do. Went out there. They spent some time in the ocean. My daughter, 6-year-old, says to me on the way home, "That was great, Dad. I forgot about coronavirus for a few hours." I mean, you want to take a knife and just jam it in me?
Jeez.
Imagine what Major League Baseball could do with a stage unto itself. And how isn't there somebody in this conversation and negotiation saying, how are we not doing this without this, all of this garbage? And how are we not going to hear some big-time name players basically say, I haven't thrown a ball in like 3 months. I'm going to start right now, and you want me to report in July? And then what's the health and safety protocol? How many kids do I have at home? Pregnant wife? Folks live with us. They're exposed. I'm supposed to come and go. Like, what are we doing? And all of a sudden, hey, everyone, it's the AAA Diamondbacks against the AA Padres. And I will say this, Daniel Jeremiah, it's not too far off from the Major League Padres.
Oh, wow. Shots at DJ for no reason.
Fire.
No reason for that shrapnel.
Really?
I mean, he doesn't have much.
By the way, only Padre fan I know, with all due respect to Padre fans. I don't know another single San Diego Padre fan.
Fact.
I know. Come on, baseball. Tom Verducci will join us. And then in our second hour of this program, Jay Bilas, first up. He will bring his law degree with him. Jay Bilas, one of the top voices in college sports. Jay Bilas Esquire shall join us to discuss what happened at the end of the day on Friday, which was Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida signing into law, beating California to the punch of paying players for their name and likeness at the collegiate level. And then over the weekend, we found out the Ohio State had their players and parents sign a Buckeye pledge, not a legal document, according to their athletic director, but a pledge basically saying, we know we could catch COVID if we come back. Jay's going to talk to us about that. And then Chris Haynes will join us. Hank Azaria will touch on what Hank's going to touch on in a second after Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports calling into this program to discuss a Zoom that it appears Kyrie Irving put together to discuss with a significant number of NBA and WNBA players and of apparently significant stratospheres, big names, Kyrie, Durant, and younger players about going to Orlando to reopen the NBA season. And there's a little bit of hold your horses going on right now about the NBA announcement where the Board of Governors approved a 22-team reconvening of the season in Orlando, including 8 regular season games and then a potential play-in tournament for an 8th and final playoff spot, and then a playoffs taking place. And and everyone's saying basketball's back, but now the fine print's out there that the Players Association said they've just agreed to discuss how the return will happen. They approved the number of teams going, and they approved the schedule, but the health and safety protocol stuff still needs to be discussed. And Kyrie Irving essentially saying, from what it appears, that perhaps what's going on in the real world in terms of social justice and police brutality and trying to fix what still needs fixing in this world should take precedence over actually playing. Now, I've reached out to some people in the NBA, some of my own sources. Saying that that's not exactly what Kyrie Irving was saying, even though Dwight Howard came out with a statement saying no basketball until this is fixed.
Right.
And so many of the fans who are thoroughly, now more than ever, understanding of social and peaceful protest occurring during or prior to a sporting event, that sports and peaceful protests can go together. That I don't know of many people that would agree that protest with sports, that people who understand that, I don't know how many people would say they understand protest instead of sports, in lieu of the actual sport. Is that what Kyrie Irving said on the Zoom? I have not been able to determine that, because it sure looks like Kyrie's saying, hey, everybody, there's more important stuff in the world. True. But maybe we shouldn't play while all this important stuff needs our attention, instead of using the sport as the platform to bring attention to it, just not even doing the sport and just throwing themselves in to the community. Is that what Kyrie Irving is saying? And is that possible? And is the NBA season in jeopardy? These are all questions I have for Chris Haynes in the second hour of this program. And then Hank Azaria will join us. He is the star of Brockmire on IFC, which is turning to Hulu. It drops on Hulu tomorrow. Seasons 1 through 3 are available right now. The fourth and final season of Brockmire drops tomorrow. And in the fourth and final season, Brockmire plays the commissioner of baseball.
He becomes the commissioner.
So here's how we're going to do. Hank will join us.
Okay.
And then we'll see if he can put Brockmire on the phone to bring his commissioner, if you will, bona fides to the current situation.
To fix the current situation.
Yes.
I love it.
I think Brockmire is going to be available when Hank calls in.
Okay, great.
I'm just throwing that out there. That's how we're rolling on these 3 hours on NBCSN. When we come back, Tom Verducci of Sports Illustrated and MLB Network and Fox Sports will give us the latest on what is going on in baseball. Hey, everybody, in the 454s in the wormhole. Usually we're just doing our whole hour together, first hour together, but for at least the next couple of weeks, we're going to be joined with the NBC Sports Network audience for all 3 hours. So, Christopher,
yes,
let's unpack the poll question here a little bit.
Okay.
Because normally we need to workshop it.
Sure. We don't really need to. I mean,
what do we need to do? Well, I mean, you've got a potential
I swapped
red fire hot take here.
I swapped it out.
Why?
Well,
what do you got?
Okay, so Bull Durham, one of our favorite, not only just sports movies,
yes,
but movies of all time,
yes,
released today in 1988. So let's go best baseball movie. Bull Durham. I'll put Field of Dreams on there. The Natural. I'm going to go Sandlot. I mean,
you left Major League out, huh?
I know. Well, there's only 4 options. That's the problem.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm open to have Major League on there, but is anybody going to compete with Bull Durham or?
I love The Sandlot, But I don't think
back.
Sandlot competes with Bull Durham.
Do you think Sandlot competes with Major League?
I think Major League is more of a baseball movie than Sandlot is.
Okay, I'm fine.
Sandlot's about like a coming-of-age story and all of that stuff.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. We could do just Costner baseball for the love of the game, of course.
I don't think For Love of the Game is great as I enjoyed it. Bull Durham
very bad.
To mess with Joe
Still
Bouzrone. It is very bad.
But obviously, The Naturals are certainly up there. Major. We'll just put the 4.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. 1988, though, 32 years. Bull Durham.
32 years. Man.
Crazy. Of course, loosely based on Ron Shelton's own minor league baseball playing experience back in the day.
I could text Ron to see if he wants to join us.
I think that would be awesome. Can we sneak him in?
Why wouldn't we be able to sneak him in?
That was a nice flex by you,
Rich.
though.
We like that.
I mean, it's not like Ron Shelton's been in space, Chris.
That's true. Nothing's going to ever top that.
It's not like I can get a director who can talk about both of the sports movies that we were talking about in Rudy and Hoosiers together.
But when you think about sports movies, Ron is kind of the go-to guy.
Say it again.
White Man Can't Jump for Ron, Bull Durham, Tin Cup. I mean, he's got the trifecta right there. He also wrote the script for Bad Boys 2, which I don't think a lot of people know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, I'll text Ron.
Just saying.
Let me text Ron. Should I text Ron?
Text Ron, Rich.
I think you should.
Text Ron.
You should text Ron Shelton.
I'm going to text Ron Shelton.
Let's hit them all
Thank
now
you,
while we got the
Mikey.
muscle.
Let me text Ron Shelton. All right. Take a break. We'll be back in a second. Podcast One is our home for our podcast. Check out all 3 hours on demand every day. Podcast1.com/Rich Eisen. All right, he's one of the best, no doubt about it. Always enjoy my chats with him. He's the hyphenate from MLB Network, Fox Sports, Sports Illustrated. He is Tom Verducci. How are you, Thomas?
I am well. I was digging your conversation about Ron Shelton.
Yes.
I got to tell you a quick story, a couple of them. Ron Shelton, as you know, he played in the Orioles minor league system.
Yep.
And when he's going through all these stops in the minor league system, he's hearing all these stories about this crazy pitcher who threw harder than anybody who ever lived. Steve Dalkowski was in the Orioles system. Had no idea where the ball was going, but was throwing, people thought at the time, like 103, 104 miles an hour. That was the basis of Duke LaLoosh.
Is that right? No kidding.
Yeah. And we just lost Steve Dalkowski just a couple of months ago, a victim of the coronavirus. He was in a nursing home, I think, in Connecticut.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And another bit of trivia for you that was filmed, obviously, in Durham at the old ballpark there, of course, the winter. The manager of the Durham Bulls that season was Brian Snitker, now the manager of the Braves. And when they needed a catcher's mitt for Costner in the movie, they borrowed Snicker's catcher's mitt.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
That is great. Well, Tom, you were overhearing our conversation that we have during the NBCSN commercial breaks on our YouTube feed about our poll question. You want to go ahead and let's just have a little bit of fun before we get to the nuts and bolts of baseball basically inflaming themselves. So go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, so Tom, it's the 32nd anniversary of Bull Durham's release. What's the best baseball movie? Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, The Natural, Major League.
Yeah, that's a great 4 you got there. I would go with Bull Durham because it just rings so true. It's hilarious. It's well acted, but, as a baseball aficionado myself, I love the fact that the dialogue is just spot on. And again, it's because Ron Shelton lived it, spoke the language. Love all the other ones, too. Natural, I thought the cinematography was just probably the best of the baseball movies, but soup to nuts, I'd go with Bull Durham.
Would you say, because again, Tom, I know you're not on Twitter, but Twitter only allows us 4. Would you kick one out, add another? Do you think we got the right 4? Read it off to him one more time so he understands which of the 4 here, Chris.
Yeah, so Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, the Natural, or Major League. Twitter only allows for 4 options, so those are the 4.
You think we got the right ones here?
Yeah, I think you do. You're going to get a lot of pushback on people who love The Sandlot, which, I mean, how do you not love The Sandlot
Right.
as well? But it's kind of a different type of baseball movie. So, yeah, I like those 4.
So basically what Tom's saying, Chris, is that those who wanted The Sandlot, we're Smalls and we're killing them, is basically what he's that's what he's saying.
You're so proud of yourself for having seen it finally.
Yes, everybody. Okay, Tom, let's get into it here. I guess we're now baseball. I guess we the fans are baseball to Smalls, and we're telling them that they're killing us, man. So what is happening as you and I are conversing here on this Monday morning, where the Players Association told baseball, tell us the when and where, and tell us today. Let's end this thing.
Yeah, what's happening is huge disagreement that's gone on now for I don't know how many months. I guess since March. They can't even agree on what they agreed on in March. It comes down to this. The players basically said we took a quote-unquote pay cut in March so that we would be paid 100% based on games played. So say half a season, we get half of our salary. Owners are saying, well, listen, man, we didn't know at the time, and we left open the possibility that we could be playing these games without anybody in the stands. And that's 40% of our revenue. And we'll have a conversation later about what to do with empty ballparks. And the players basically said no backsies, like the schoolyard game, and you can't go back to that. Listen, they're so wedded to this idea. In some ways, Rich, it's very impressive that the players have really found a collective, strong voice on this issue. It's not about pension or an economic system or free agent compensation. It's very understandable. It's about a cut in your salary across the board, right? So that's galvanized them. So they've held to their position firmly that they will not take what they call a second pay cut. And driving this whole thing, kind of like, part of that March agreement, the players agreed that if they couldn't come to an agreement, the commissioner could say, all right, here's our season. We're going to play X number of games. It's going to start on this date and end on this date. They agreed to that. And based on everything we've heard, that's why the commissioner told me last week on MLB Network, we're going to have a season this year. We're going to have a season, and under their parameters, season ends on September 27th, last game of the World Series, no later than November 1st. They'll only get in about 48 games in the regular season. So that's where we're headed. Listen, it won't be the end of it because the players could still file a grievance. The owners could actually file a grievance too, but it looks like we're getting to the point where the commissioner does respond to the union by saying, okay, here's how many games we're playing. I think it's going to be 48 starting August 3rd, and we go from there.
Starting August 3rd. So they're just going to wow.
Well, I said that because I'm backdating it, Rich, that, the owners have September 27th as the end of their regular season, so they get the whole postseason in before November 1st. So if you backdate 48 games from September 27th, that's where you get. And I actually think if that's what you're going to do, why have just a 3-week training camp then? Start to get players in camp next week. This way, you'll have pitchers more stretched out and players will be more physically prepared for a season if you give them 4 weeks instead of 3 weeks.
So, and then in the middle of all this, we hear that Turner Sports and, or AT&T or whoever you want to call as a parent company, is going to plug $1 billion into the pipeline with a new television contract. Tom, how does all of this square that baseball won't, take the financial hit as owners for this one shortened season, or not come up with some sort of way to say, okay, players, you get less of what we agreed to in March, but you still are made whole later on down the road when we've just made all this money. Money's being put into the pipeline regardless of what happens here. How come we can't do it? There's enough smart people and business folk out there to figure this out. What's going on?
Yeah, it reminds me of somebody told me this years ago, that the greatest thing to happen to baseball, and you could apply this actually to any sport, is the DVR. So once people started time shifting their television viewing, then you just zap through the commercials. And the only way you watch commercials now is if you're watching live TV. And sports is just an incredible resource for live TV. Nobody wants to watch a game that's been tape delayed. You already know what the score is. Where's the fun in that? So, baseball has tremendous number of games, which TV sees as quote-unquote content. So it's a great content generator, live content. Advertisers love it. So especially in the postseason where baseball becomes more event-oriented, there's a premium. The networks love it. So I think that has a lot to do about the state of television as much as it does about baseball specifically. But, yeah, it's an indication that the sport, as far as the finances go, I think is healthy. And it's, to your point, Rich, the owner's last proposal would have given the players, if the postseason was played to completion, about $1.5 billion. They basically rejected this out of hand. And knowing that the commissioner could schedule 48 games in which they would get $1.2 billion. So sticking to principle here, they're willing to forego $300 million, which works out to 20% per player. So that's a virtual pay cut. So they say they don't want a second pay cut, but by allowing the commissioner to install a 48-game season, they're taking a 20% virtual pay cut. Now, it's not that simple. I understand that. They still would retain the right to file a grievance, and the damages would be just tremendous if they ever won that. So it is more complicated than that. But I think I'm using that as an example, Rich,
Yes.
on how galvanized the players have been about not taking a second pay cut, because they literally are turning away $300 million to stick to their principle.
We spoke to Charlie Blackmon on May 11th, and he kind of saw this coming, to be very honest with you. He said that he didn't want the politics to get in the way. He just wants to play baseball. How many similar to Charlie could be out there right now, Tom?
Yeah, I think a lot. I think a lot. As I said, the players are more galvanized. I thought that the 2016 collective bargaining agreement, the players got what they wanted, not necessarily what they needed. They got a lot of quality of life issues in terms of, chefs in the clubhouse, extra seats on spring training buses that nobody takes, extra off days, a better travel system in terms of day games after night games. But the economic system really wasn't in their favor. There wasn't a big, huge jump in the minimum salary or especially the competitive balance tax thresholds. So I think the fact that they saw just actually a year later than that they didn't do great economically out of that CBA. That's another reason why I think they're taking a firm stand here. They found, as I said, an easy principle to defend. And that is, as their negotiator, Bruce Meyer, says, a day's pay for a day work. And it's very easy for them to stay together on that issue.
So, Tom Verducci here, Sports Illustrated, Fox Sports, MLB Network Insider. What are the odds that all the players will say, yes, then let's go? That just tell us when and where we want to play baseball, but, showing up in August and playing, 2-3 months and not even knowing what the health and safety protocols are yet. I mean, what's the chance that some players that we'll see 2/3 of the Dodgers take on 1/3 of the Angels, in a freeway series?
It's a question. I think you will see some players who just have they regard it too much of a medical risk to come back, either to themselves or their families. And that's accounted for. No player should or will be forced to play if they have underlying conditions or family members who might be put at risk by the husband or son or whoever it may be going out and playing baseball under these protocols. So those players wouldn't get paid, but they would still get service time. Now, if you opt not to play and you don't fall under the category of some kind of medical risk, then you would not get pay and you would not get service time. That's a huge deal to not get service time because pay is generally tied to service time, right? You qualify for arbitration, for free agency based on service time. A couple other things to me on that, Rich. You're also defying your teammates because the majority of players want to play. This is what they do. It's very finite careers. They might not like how they got to a 48-game season, but they want to play baseball. And there's so much, I'll call it peer pressure, but clubhouse influence, that your buds are there playing ball and training for a season and you don't want to come back because you think the season's not worth it because it's not long enough. That's a tough position to defend to your teammates, forget publicly. But I also think the message you send to fans is you as a player regard this season as so insignificant, it's not worth your while to play. why as a fan should I then care myself about it if you don't care enough to play? So I understand there's thought that it's not a legitimate season. It's too short to really have meaning. Why would players want to play? Bottom line is, man, they're baseball players. This is what they do for a living. You can't get these games back. Once they're gone, they're gone.
Well, I mean, the commissioner's going to be on ESPN tonight as part of a 2-hour show where all the major North American sports commissioners are scheduled to participate. What do you think Manfred's going to be able to say tonight?
Well, I think he's going to defend his last proposal. He'll mention that each proposal that they've made has moved closer to the player side, which factually is correct. I would argue that a lot of it is just incremental, and clearly it hasn't moved the players at all to the point of wanting to compromise. But I think it'll be apparent that he's dealing with a union that historically has been much stronger than the unions we see in other sports. And the other thing we're starting to see is this play out so much more publicly in baseball than in the other sports. Every sport right now is doing whatever they can to kind of in an ad hoc way decide how we can get the sport back in front of people, right? The return to play issue, no, we've never been through this before. We've been through that after lockouts or strikes, but through a pandemic, there's no playbook. Every commissioner is going through this. The baseball commissioner is the one who, unfortunately for baseball, is going through this in a very public way. The ups and the downs, one day there's hope, and the next day, well, I'll say most days, there's no hope. So I think that's an element to negotiations that baseball, and listen, they're as guilty as anybody of creating some of this themselves, but with their leaks. But it does hamper negotiations when they're being done so publicly, and we don't hear about that in other sports.
Before I let you go, Tom Verducci, I guess bring attention to another piece of ESPN programming. Do you check out the 30 for 30 romp through 1998 on Sunday night? Did you check out any of that?
I did not see it, Rich. Obviously, I was embedded deeply
Yes, you were.
In that season and all throughout. But, I've seen a lot of the criticisms of it. If you're going to run B-roll from, 2019 when you're doing a doc on 1998, you lose a lot of credibility. It's kind of like, for me as a journalist, if you're writing a story and you spell a name wrong or you get a fact wrong, people tend to look at the whole thing askew. The whole product tends to get tainted. So those are, I call them mistakes, but editorial choices, I guess, that cast doubt on it. That's what I've seen so far. I will check it out at some point. I just didn't see it last night.
So then what is your takeaway from the 1998 season? Because a lot of the criticism last night, I missed it too, to be honest with you, was a sort of a hagiography of 98, not really delving too deep into what was potentially going on at the time. They did get into it in the aftermath, but I'm just wondering what you thought the story of 1998 really is.
Well, I do think when we were in the middle of it, it was incredible, and it was fun, and it was fascinating, and I think there was always, at least in my mind, a little bit of skepticism about how this was being done. I tell people all the time, I sat across from Mark and, before the 1998 season began at his home in Orange County. And I asked him point blank about using steroids. Of course, he denied it, but it wasn't like the issue wasn't there at all in 98 and we were ignorant to it. But, what was happening in front of us on the baseball field, the ballpark's opening up early for batting practice and having a lot of people show up to watch the guys take BP. Mm-hmm. It was, front and center on the nightly news back when people watched the nightly news, right, on the major networks. Baseball was on the nightly news every night. Either one hit a home run. So, going through it was exciting and it was fun. I mean, there was a lot of archaeology that still had to be done with how they got to where they were. But in the moment, you can't disregard the fact that it was a fun ride.
I've been to that same house in Orange County, Tom, and I've asked the same question of Mark, too. And Mark's one of my favorite people I've ever met in this business. I mean,
he's a great guy.
I'm honestly one of the shot that I did see last night from the documentary that you saw from after he hit his 60-second home run. The two people he's hugging is his ex-wife and his ex-wife's new husband. I mean, it really was a unique setup, and his son was there, and they were all traveling around as he was trying to break the record, and then he finally did. He did it actually pretty fast, and he didn't. That could have been like a week, 10-day long journey, waiting for that home run to hit. And then, I asked him point blank on camera for ESPN2 as well, not ESPN2, but ESPN after he retired. When I received a fax from him to announce his retirement, which Tony La Russa to this day still holds against me.
It's all your fault.
Right, and that I sat across from him. Did you take steroid? And he just flat out said no, and it's just disappointing. It's like the whole "say it ain't so" from the original Natural, the book. It really is something to revisit again. But at the time, you're right. Like, nobody had their heads in the sand. But at the time, it was remarkable. It was one of the most remarkable things I've ever had a front row seat for. Tom.
Yeah, and I say this as part of the media here. As you know, Rich, a lot of people have said that people looked the other way, quote unquote. We didn't. Like you, we were asking the questions. I thought in a lot of ways we were very responsible by not just accusing people of doing something that we didn't have evidence of, and again, not looking the other way because we wanted to protect baseball in any way, but just being a journalist that. You don't call out someone's authenticity and their reputation just on a rumor or a whim. You need evidence, and the fact that, we withheld those suspicions, I think, until we were able to confirm a lot of these things, I think was the right thing to do. In no way was it, we're just going to look the other way because it was so much fun. I think we were able to hold both thoughts in our heads. It was amazing to watch. But there was something that we needed to get to the bottom of.
Tom, thanks for the time. Thanks for the call. We'll chat again real soon once we know what we've got here for 2020.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rich.
You got it. Tom Verducci here on the Rich Eisen Show. And just as a fresh reminder from the real world that we could talk about dollars, cents, this, that, other thing. And with Chris Haynes coming up in the second hour from Yahoo Sports about should the players return to Orlando as opposed to staying in their communities and fighting for justice, as it appears that Kyrie Irving is saying that there's still a pandemic going on and the virus appears to have the last say. And in that regard, there's news breaking out of Dallas, where Texas has had a spike in coronavirus cases involving the Dallas Cowboys. That and your phone calls at 844-204-RICH when we come back. I don't even know where to go.
What were you doing, Rich? What were you doing,
you can take
Rich?
a sip.
I mean, yeah, you could sip.
You can take a sip of the coffee. It's like totally fine.
See, I'm sipping mine.
Good for you guys. I feel like I should.
Number of people
Iced coffee.
It's funny. The number of people who I'm friends with, or I've been going on I don't know if you've been doing this at all, but occasionally like social distant walk, like a walk. Like calling up a buddy, hey, let's go for a walk.
Nice.
I put on a mask, you put on a mask, we'll go for a walk. And people text or whatever, like, what are you talking about for 3 hours with no sports? And I'm like, you know what? It's been a lot of lately, when we first started, when the pandemic hit, it was like, what's this all about? Right. Canceling sports.
Sure.
Then it was the NFL was still going.
Yep.
The draft was happening. And then we got lost in the draft for a few weeks.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then after the draft, it was the schedule. And before the schedule, it was just the last dance was essentially a conversation.
A lot of it, yeah.
And then it would be like, well, when are the sports going to figure out if they can come back or not? And then the last 3 weeks, it has been filled with real world stuff. Yep. And I see, again, how many fans are not interested in real world stuff. Some of them are. A majority are not. I see numbers and I see clicks, and I don't care. I'm going to keep talking about stuff I want to talk about here. But that's why I would love for baseball and the NBA to come back. Could you imagine if we finally do this and we get lost? I got lost in the competition in golf over the weekend. Yeah. I got lost in it. I didn't think for a second, okay, Caddy's putting that flag stick in. Who's touching it next?
Nope.
Okay. I did think on occasion, though, when I saw members of the who were running the tournament, they didn't have a mask on. And I'm like, I know everybody's tested clear,
right,
but we just do not know. You don't know. But I did get lost in this kid's ability to just go ahead and do his thing. And then I got lost in the jacket and the size of the trophy and all of it.
Brockmire
But the
jacket.
That thing
leaderboard
is huge.
I mean, it was the Brockmire jacket. It's a Brockmire jacket. And we'll get lost in it with Hank later on, and we could do it. We could do a whole.
Where do you put that in?
I
now?
mean, but this is what's happening. Baseball's arguing like the number. I mean, at one point it was like a regular collective bargaining agreement conversation, and the NBA's wondering what's going on, and the college football, when all comes down to it, we may not have baseball, college football, or NBA based on the conversations we're having. All right, we're back in a second. All right, Chris, we've kind of unpacked our poll question.
Yeah, you got to hit that RT so we can
What's the
get
best
this
baseball
going.
movie? It was 32 years ago today that Bull Durham went into theaters.
Hit the theaters. Crazy that it's been 32
Okay.
years. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. But what's your guys' best baseball movie? Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, The Natural, Major League. So early on, The Natural's at 10%. Bull Durham, 20%, 28% Field of Dreams, 42% Major League.
Wouldn't it be interesting that you
Didn't want to have Major League
you didn't want to
on
have
there,
Major
I
League
know.
on there because you wanted The Sandlot,
I know.
which is a great movie. I mean, I could sit here and talk about The Sandlot all day if you'd like. Having just finally seen it, and I revealed that on this show on NBCSN a couple weeks ago. It's a delightful film.
Hercules.
But if you want to talk about pure baseball movie, great shot right there.
Oh, look
There
at
we
that.
are.
I need that
There
shot.
we are right there.
That's pretty. TJ in the back.
Yeah, I need that
I
shot.
love TJ in the back there. And so, but you, Chris, hold on a second here. You had a little bit of hitch in your giddy up when you first initially unpacked this on our commercial break in between our first and second segment on NBCSN, where we had a conversation about Ron Shelton that Tom Verducci overheard waiting on hold to join us, and that he then brought up Ron Shelton. So you wanted to have Field of Dreams off to begin with.
Well,
because you
I also love
feel
Field of
that
Dreams.
The Sandlot is more of a baseball movie than Field of Dreams is.
Right.
And I've said you saying Field of Dreams is not a baseball movie. It's a what? What is Field of Dreams if not a baseball
like a
movie?
sci-fi father-son movie. I mean, look, you're the one who likes to pound the table saying that Rocky is not a boxing movie.
Well, when you're saying, hold on a second, when you're saying science fiction, you're talking about like supernatural is what you're saying. Like,
ghosts come out of a cornfield.
Okay.
That's a little
fantasy.
That's a little sci-fi.
It's a fantasy film.
Unlike Rudy.
That happens to be a father story film wrapped in a
they
baseball
air
concept.
Field of Dreams on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Okay, and so, okay, you're now saying that I say Rocky's not a sports film; it's a love story.
story.
Okay,
Right.
And Carl Weathers himself confirmed that. The guy who actually is in the film, several films, Apollo Creed himself agreed with that. Okay, so let's just place that aside as something that you're wrong about. So, I'm saying, you saying Field of Dreams is not a baseball movie is far hotter a take than me saying Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
I mean,
That Die Hard
here's
is
the
an
thing,
action thriller that takes place during Christmas, that when you talk about Christmas films, it is not something like, okay, Miracle on 34th
It's a
Street.
Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life. Die Hard.
No.
But when you're saying, I'm saying
Baseball movies.
baseball movies,
Field of Dreams.
right,
Major League.
right,
A League of Their Own.
correct. That's another one that we could have included in our poll question. I'm saying, you saying Field of Dreams is not a baseball movie is far hotter of a take than me saying Die Hard is an action film. Don't talk to me about Christmas movie.
Field of Dreams is about Ray Kinsella's personal journey to get back his lost relationship with his father.
Yes. How many times have you seen Field of Dreams on television? Multiple, right?
1,000.
How many times have you seen it on the Sci-Fi Network?
I mean,
How many times have you seen
amount.
it on MLB Network this week?
Yeah, okay. But that's just because, everyone considers
Okay.
it a baseball movie, but
Okay.
everyone can be wrong.
Let's take a phone call. Austin in South Carolina. You're here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Austin?
Hey, Rich. First-time caller. Just want to say I've been following the show the last couple of years, and I really appreciate what you guys talk about. We need more good people and good souls in the world like you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We're going to do it as long as we can. What's up on your mind otherwise?
I just want to make a point. Field of Dreams has to be the best baseball movie. Anytime you can make the state of Iowa interesting and want to cry and call your dad afterwards, you gotta put that movie in consideration. I mean, it's like the song "Cats in the Cradle." But also one point I want to make, just as a sports fan in general, I'm happy to see NASCAR back, but come on, NBA and baseball, please, for the love of God, you gotta get this together.
Well, in terms, and I appreciate the call, Austin. Thank you. And in terms of MLB getting their act together, that's a money argument. In terms of the NBA, I want to have Chris Haynes on because is Kyrie Irving really saying that I'd rather not play at all until social justice and policing is cleaned up?
Then there won't be NBA for a decade.
Is that really what he is in front? Before we go there, I really want to know. Chris Haynes is going to join us from Yahoo. I really want to know that. And the shots fired on the great state of Iowa. Okay, Kurt Warner would like a word. And then the issue with the father-son stuff, why you want to call your dad after Field of Dreams is, the father and the son, it's all about them playing catch. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And Cats in the Cradle is about a dad who ignores his child.
Right, that's
for
a sad song.
That's
a very sad song. Very sad.
We got to help our friend out calling in.
It's a very sad song.
Next time.
Not the same.
It's definitely going down the produce section and down the dairy section. We're going to talk about it.
A little different.
Yes. And then again, in terms of what we're hearing from the NBA and baseball and all that and all these conversations, there's still a virus that we need to address and needs to work its way through our society, and society needs to figure out how to combat and also live with. Okay. My buddy Ian Rappaport from the NFL Media Group says several Dallas Cowboys have tested positive for COVID-19, including Zeke. Now, I don't know what several means. I don't know what that possibly means. Apparently, none of them, based on the initial reports, were at the team facility. Don't know. And the teams followed proper health protocols. All you got to do, folks, is go to one bash, one party, or I shouldn't even suggest a party is a wrong thing for me. It's one gathering, all right? So Rocky's saying it's confirmed. Yeah, Rocky's a good man. Longtime Marshall Falk agent as well. Arsenault said Elliott's feeling good, which is great.
That's great.
Said again, we just don't know. So if the Cowboys are, we don't even know if hey man, that could be good. Let him if he gets coronavirus now, then he'll have the antibodies and be able to play a full season. Who the hell knows? Even if you want to take that approach of saying that if he's fine or what have you. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know to sit here and say, well, that's going to be a problem if that happens in August or September. We don't know what therapeutics may be had in August and September. We don't know what health protocols can be had or understood about the virus between now and then. It seems like 3 hours feels like 3 years. But it sure seems dangerous. That's what it sounds like to me. And it sounds risky. Or he's young enough and he'll be able to handle it. Or he can get through 14 days. He feels fine. He didn't even know he had it. Or, and I'm not being facetious, it's more dangerous to be on the beach running around and jumping over a jet ski like Lamar Jackson was apparently doing over the weekend.
How crazy was that video? All I thought about was Robert Edwards during the
of course, the
Pro Bowl weekend.
famed Patriot running back who blew his knee out in beach football. I mean, the defending most valuable player.
Man, oh man.
I understand he wants to prove the Madden curse doesn't exist, but I would proffer to just say, what are you doing? That video of him running around on the beach like he's pirouetting against the Cincinnati Bengals last year.
And then like the jet ski makes a perfect form tackle.
Wow. Apparently he is fine.
Couldn't believe that.
I honestly, I don't have a take on a bunch of Cowboys testing positive for COVID-19. But I guess, does this mean that the teams are testing everybody before they are allowed back in the facility? If that is the case, then good. I'm glad to see it. Let's get a grip on all of this. But that's just the ultimate. Like, we're sitting here, baseball. Can they finally agree to a number? The NBA. Will they be able to agree to actually show up? Well, I guess it all matters what the virus has to say, huh? When it's all said and done. You're telling me you're driving around town here in Los Angeles.
It's
People
like,
are partying like it's 1999.
They are. Just walking. It's like crazy.
Jeez. Okay, phone calls, 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Remember I did say last hour, remember I said earlier, let me call Ron Shelton. Let's get Ron on the phone.
Did you get him?
Remember you said that? You said, what a flex. And I'm like, it's not like he's Mark Kelly, like an astronaut. Or is he
Astronaut was
call
a
it?
pretty big flex.
Ron Shelton, I did, in fact, text the director of Bull Durham on the 32nd anniversary of his film, making it into theaters. He wrote back, sure, name the time.
Boom.
Maybe we'll have him on after Hank Azaria to finish up the show with Ron Shelton.
That's how we roll, man.
Why not? All right, hour 2. Jay Bilas Esquire will join us. And then Chris Haynes and you, 844-204-RICH, live on NBCSN all 3 hours. Man who needs no introduction, but I'll give it to him anyway, the legend, Tony Hawk.
Oh,
Good to
thank
see
you.
How are you, bud?
Very good, thanks.
Okay, so what do we have here? Choices, because, I've never been on a skateboard.
I heard that.
You actually use your skateboard?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so, wow, all right. All right.
Have you ever done any board sports, surf, snowboard?
This is a blank slate situation.
All right. So if I were to, let's see, you have to decide which way you stand, first of all.
Okay.
Right? So you're either going to stand with your right foot forward or your left foot forward.
Well, I'm a right-handed guy, so...
That doesn't matter.
How do you ski?
Let's say if someone were to push you forward, which foot would you? All right, yeah, I say you're goofy-footed.
Okay.
Like me.
There we go.
You're riding my board, you're goofy-footed.
Okay. Great. So,
All right.
yeah.
So what you want to do is put your front foot on the board, a little bit of an angle.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
And then just give it a little push off, and then straighten your front foot out after it's moving.
Okay.
And my only advice is to anticipate the motion.
Anticipate the motion. So I'm going to
And don't fall.
right
There you go.
foot like this. Oh my God, this is no good. And then push off with the left?
Yeah, and then just lean forward. Make sure you're leaning forward. That would be leaning back. Is that what you guys were hoping for?
Yeah.
Was that the money shot?
That's exactly what we were hoping for.
I swear I gave him good advice.
What a horrible moment. But this is what everybody in this room was hoping for. Wow. I'm going to do it again.
All right.
Wow, I went down on the left.
Do it again.
Okay, you
Wow,
got
I'm
it.
going to do it again.
Got to lean forward on your front, like over your front foot. All right, you're centered more over your front leg.
Okay.
There you go. That's it. That's it. You got it.
Got to teach my kids to stay on the board.
There you go.
Look at me.
That's it. You're skating.
Tony Hawk, everybody.
Can't forget enough.
High five for perseverance.
Got to teach the kids to get back on it. But I do need an ice bag. An ice pack, please, somebody.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
He is the total package.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com.
David Faraday back here on the show.
Download and podcast at richeisenshow.com.
What do you think of Koepka's mustache?
Is it sort of a 70s porno mustache? I'm not sure.
Earlier on the show, MLB analyst Tom Verducci. Coming up, college basketball analyst Jay Bilas. Yahoo NBA insider Chris Haynes. Plus actor Hank Azaria. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Second hour here on NBCSN Live from our Los Angeles studios. I am Rich Eisen. Social media grandmaster T.J. Jefferson just jarred another putt, and I think that's indicative of a great. I think it's great. It's indicative of a great show we're gonna have. He did jar it, right? I saw that peripherally. Correct. Okay, very good.
But he's trying to claim like that's what he does, and you're like 50-50.
Maybe
it's not easy putting with the whole world watching.
Really hard,
and the whole world is watching. I mean, we're on YouTube, right? We're on NBCSN. Brockmire Del Tufo over there, as always. Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports will be joining us as the NBA is having, it's being viewed as second thoughts from players, but as I think Chris Haynes is going to describe from Yahoo Sports that the conversation that Kyrie Irving led, apparently, as in his role with the NBA Players Association, is it's just discussing about returning, whether it is over concerns of COVID or concerns about what's going on in society today, to have a conversation about it. Just because the union approved what the Board of Governors approved doesn't mean the sport's coming back. There needs to be a negotiation, and that's what baseball is going through monetarily, and basketball is going through just mentally, it seems. And so Chris Haynes will join us coming up in just about 20 minutes' time. Now then, let's get to the phone lines right now. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial, but calling in is my friend, longtime friend from the worldwide leader in sports, and with a couple of stories popping on Friday and then over the weekend involving collegiate athletics. The state of Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis announcing that he has signed into law that players at the collegiate level will be able to start making money off of their name, likeness, and image starting in 2021, which beats California to the punch. And then The Ohio State University making its players and parents of players sign a Buckeye pledge, is what it's being called by Gene Smith, the athletic director, in which it states the signee understands that they could get COVID if they get back on the field. And it sure sounds like a waiver. So we wanted Jay Bilas and Jay Bilas Esquire to call all in at the same time, and apparently he has. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing very well, Rich. How are you?
Better for talking with you. Let's start first, I guess, with that Ohio State Buckeye pledge that we heard about so much over the weekend, Jay. What do you make of this news? Is it something that you think is going to be regular, normal for all schools to do, and is it fair?
Yeah, first, you're going to see a lot of this, and it doesn't sound like a waiver. It is one. It's a waiver of liability, and you're going to see more of this, I believe. There's an issue called assumption of risk. And I think the NCAA and the institutions, the member institutions, are looking at sort of the optics of, how can you ask an amateur player to assume the risk of playing in a multi-billion-dollar business? If you're a car racer, racing for money in NASCAR or Formula One, you're assuming the risk of injury, but you're doing so for a fair amount of money. And they're certainly not doing that here. But there's an odd feel to it. To me, first of all, calling it a pledge is a bit, can be seen as a bit misleading. And then the fact that they have to sign it in order to play. It's not a car rental contract. I mean, it's a waiver. And so it's interesting. I don't know exactly what to make of it, but I think you're going to see everybody using something similar. One thing about a waiver, though, is no matter what a player is made to or asked to sign, you can't waive negligence. So if, just taking Ohio State as an example, if Ohio State acts in a negligent fashion and players are harmed as a result of that, that can't be waived. So we'll see what happens. I mean, look, we all want to see all these sports play, but there are issues that we've not had to confront before, and we can already see that. Even University of Houston, as you saw, suspended. Their athletics right now after so many players tested positive when they first came back. So we haven't figured this one out yet. It's gonna be a while before we do.
Well, I do want to just give Gene Smith's statement and quote a full, complete airing with you, Jay, saying that the waiver is intended more for educational purposes than it is for liability. Quote, that's why we call it a pledge. We don't look at that as a legal document. It's a Buckeye pledge. Allow us to help you so that if we face a situation, our trainers, our strength coaches, or coaches or any athletic administrator sees a student athlete not wearing a mask or not social distancing, we can say, hey, you made a commitment. You signed a pledge. Your parents signed a pledge. Your parents are a part of this, end quote.
Yeah, and they're asking their parents to sign it to show not that that they've got unity, but so that their parents can't claim they didn't know. And this isn't something where I'm not saying that this is sinister. It's not. Right. But the idea that it's not some sort of legal document, of course it is. Otherwise, they just say everybody raise your right hand or put your hand over your heart and let's all pledge to do this together. They're making them sign it, date it, and all that stuff. So it's as legal as it gets. There may be some other things in there as to making people aware, but it's just like we said before with a loan document. You have to sign all these different things when you get a loan, and some of them are to make sure that you're aware of certain things. And you have to sign it because there are legal ramifications to it. So it's the same thing here. Everybody's trying to protect themselves as best they can. It doesn't mean that Ohio State is doing, or anybody else is doing anything wrong in starting up and bringing people back. But I don't know if you saw. I think it was Friday as well, Rich. There was an article, I believe, in Forbes magazine, written by Donna Lopiano, who used to be the athletic director at the University of Texas, and by Andrew Zimbalist, who's a very well-known economist, basically asking, has higher education lost its mind? The idea that reopening athletics right now goes against most of what we're hearing from healthcare professionals, that you're being asked not to fly unless it's absolutely necessary, and then they're flying athletes in from all over the country for quote-unquote voluntary workouts. The workouts aren't voluntary. They're restarting, and they're mandatory. If you don't come back, you are sending a strong signal that you're not all in. And so I don't think any of the players really are viewing this as voluntary. They believe it's mandatory.
Well, I guess, Jay, I know you used the word sinister, and that's what I think that this is being viewed through the lens of, we're seeing what the Major League Baseball Union is doing. We're seeing what the NBA, the NBPA might be involved in right now, and we're going to talk about what Kyrie Irving said over the weekend in a moment with Chris Haynes of Yahoo. But there is no union here, right? And that's where I think a lot of people, when they hear that this pledge or waiver, and again, Gene Smith said he got this pledged from an idea on a conference call amongst his colleagues from the athletic director in Indiana, and we're assuming that there's going to be many other schools that do this. The question is what rights do the players have, I guess, if they're not unionized in this regard?
Yeah, very few. It's sort of the idea, Rich, of people saying, and it's usually said when the players ask for economic rights, when they ask for money, they say, well, this is not a mandatory, this is a voluntary activity. It's not mandatory. You don't have to play. Nobody's holding a gun to your head type of thing. I hate it when people say that, but it's true. They said nobody's holding a gun to your head to play. And then this is the one I've always disliked, that it's a privilege, not a right, to play college athletics. Well, that's nonsense, because is it a right to work to be a coach? It's not a right to be a coach. That's a privilege too, if you want to look at it that way. But you do have certain rights, and I happen to think that playing college sports is a right. It's a right that's earned through competition and merit. And so, that to me, that doesn't indicate that a player shouldn't be paid or all that. But to the point of the players have no say, essentially, in starting up again. It's not like things are being negotiated. The athletic directors will tell you, well, we've been in constant communication with the players. We are listening to their concerns. We have spoken with the parents. We have wide open communication and all that stuff. But the decisions are theirs. And everybody, it's amazing to me. And again, I'm not casting aspersions on anyone, but just it's amazing to me how early on in this discussion, you had high-ranking officials, the president of the NCAA, saying if schools are not open, we will not be playing college sports. That if campuses aren't open for students, you can't have athletes on campus. And quickly, really quickly, that was shot down. And then you said, well, hey, if we're open for online education, we're open for business, and athletes can be on campus. And boy, it's totally changed. And look, I don't know whether we're moving too fast, just right, or not fast enough. I'm not saying any of that. All I believe is we have no idea what's going to happen going forward. We might have beliefs as to what's going to happen, but we don't know. And you can just see with states reopening in phase 1 that we're having spikes in transmission. So, it'd be foolish to think that we're not going to have it in football and basketball and all that. So we don't know what's going to happen. And so I'm cutting everybody a lot of slack in that, too. But then you see things like this, and you're going, are we really worried about liability and bringing them back so we're having them sign a waiver? That raises some more questions about whether we're doing the right thing, I think.
Do you think it is, and last one for you on this before we hit on the state of Florida, do you think it's enforceable? I mean, certainly when an athletic director's on record saying this is not a legal document in our minds, it's just a pledge?
I think if somebody were to bring suit saying that the university acted improperly in bringing people back, and therefore the virus was contracted and damages were suffered, it would certainly be an issue. I think it would be an important issue in that sort of action. But then, obviously you'd have the issue of causation. I think it would be very difficult to tell. Did you contract the virus from here? At least that seems like it would be difficult now. Now maybe we'll learn more, and contact tracing can get right to the bottom of it as far as proving the matter asserted. I just don't know the answer to that. But it's certainly putting people at a decision right now. I mean, I just can't imagine being presented with that and doing anything as an athlete and doing anything other than signing it. What are you going to do? You're going to take a stand individually and say, I'm not doing this? I don't know. It'd be difficult. I can't imagine. If they say, hey, we're starting up again, I'd feel obligated as an athlete to go. Because you have a lot riding on it, not just your scholarship and the like, but I think you'd feel like your career in some ways could be riding on it, just like if broadcasting starts back and they say, hey, we want you to go do a game somewhere.
Right.
Like if you're a broadcaster and they're saying, hey, we want you to go 4 months into this bubble in Orlando to do the NBA, you're going to be thinking about, what does this mean for my career if I say no? Even if you're worried about the implications, if you've got health issues, whatever it is, you're going to be worried about your career if you say no.
No doubt about that. Jay Bilas here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, and now Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, signing a bill on Friday that goes into effect in July of 2021 that says name, likeness, and image for any collegiate athlete in the state of Florida can earn them a paycheck. What do you make of this news, Jay?
Well, it's just the next step in what seems to be inevitable, but I'm not convinced is inevitable, Rich. It's sort of the NCAA allowing athletes economic rights, and in this, the limited economic right of their name, image, and likeness to be able to do endorsements and the like and accept money for that while you're in college. And if you'll recall, a little over a year ago, I believe, right around tournament time, the NCAA had come out with a statement saying that they wanted to allow this. And it was in direct response to the state of California passing its name, image, and likeness law. I think it's called the Fair Pay to Play Act out in California that was put through 72-0 by Senator Nancy Skinner and signed by Governor Newsom. So the NCAA comes out and says, we want to allow name, image, and likeness rights as long as it fits within the collegiate model. And so many people took that to be this tremendous victory that look what's happening. The NCAA is finally relenting on this. And I couldn't stop laughing. I said, they're not allowing this. They said as long as it fits within the collegiate model. And that's like, and I've made jokes about it, but it's true. That's kind of like saying we want to allow the players unlimited showers as long as nobody gets wet. That's what they're saying. And so they put together this task force or working group that's chaired by Gene Smith, who we were just talking about at Ohio State, and Val Ackerman of the Big East. And they've come up with all these recommendations. But buried in the recommendations is the idea that we'll allow this with guardrails, which means restrictions, as long as we get an antitrust exemption from Congress, or Congress puts these rules into federal law so that it preempts all these different states that may have variances in how they're going about it, because Florida and California are not the only ones. And so I don't think they're going to do this in the least bit. You've already seen different athletic directors coming out and making statements that they want to put a stop to it. They're not, they think it's wrong, all this stuff. And so I'm not confident that the NCAA really means this, that they really want to do it. I don't believe they do. And I think they're asking Congress for an antitrust exemption. So you're a recidivist violator of the federal antitrust laws is asking for an antitrust exemption. That is the ultimate, sort of Fox asking Congress for exclusive access to the henhouse that I can recall. I mean, it's bizarre in how grandiose that view is. There's no way they're going to get that, but they could get legislation that they say, okay, here's the national standard, and let's preempt all these other states. We'll see what happens.
So you're saying that when somebody Garrity pays some player, to show up at a car dealership, and the NCAA comes down on that kid or the member school, this is going to court. Is basically what you're saying until this gets figured out.
Well, even before that, I think what will happen is if the NCAA is unable to get traction in Congress for some sort of legislation before Florida's law goes into effect, I think you'll see the NCAA sue the state of Florida and the state of California under some theory that they violated the United States Constitution, specifically the Commerce Clause. I don't know whether that'll work or not, but it'll certainly delay things. And the more the NCAA delays, the more they get the status quo, and the more they pocket the billions of dollars that they're making. But to me, Rich, this is really easy. The NCAA likes to make it complicated, but if you want to do name, image, and likeness, you start from, all right, the players have full economic rights. Now, if we think that full economic rights, there are going to be issues that are going to negatively affect the competition and negatively affect the business, then let's talk about reasonable restrictions to accomplish, sort of those goals of having, sort of the fair competition, something like that. Instead, the NCAA starts with the premise of the athletes get nothing, so let's decide where we want to allow the crumbs to go from the athletes, because we certainly don't want any of our money going there. We don't want anyone, whether it's a corporation or an individual business that usually gives their money to us, taking any of that money and giving it to individual athletes, because that would be a negative drain on us, and that's our money, not theirs. And that's sort of the what I call the false premise that the NCAA uses in trying to decide this. We have the status quo, and we're not going to change it unless there's good reason to, and it's not going to affect us. And I don't think that's a very good way to go about it.
Jay, much appreciated. You take care of yourself. Stay tuned, I imagine. No doubt about it. We'll chat soon.
I pledge to come back whenever you ask.
And I'm going to hold you to that, sir. I will hold you to that. And you second that, Chris? Do you second that? Do you second that? Seconded. That's it. And if Del Tufo thirds it, then it's binding. Okay?
Now it's law.
Now it's law. That's it. Take care of yourself, Jay. You're the best.
Thank you, Rich.
You got it. It's Jay Bilas. He is the best.
I always feel smarter after Jay comes on.
I do. Or some people can feel less smart because they're like, what? Look up recidivist.
Oh,
that's a good one. That's a big word alert.
I just started Googling the Commerce Clause.
Chris Haynes will join us from Yahoo Sports. What in the world was that Zoom with Kyrie Irving all about? That's next. Okay, let's get to a couple phone calls here on the Rich Eisen Show. Vinny in Michigan. Let's get to Vinny in Michigan on the program. What's up, Vincent?
Good afternoon, Rich.
What's up, Vinny? What's on your mind?
Just thinking about Major League Baseball. I think they should definitely try and bring it back this year. I think they're kind of in a little bit of trouble the past couple years. I think they really need to keep their heads down and play ball.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree, Vinny. But I guess baseball would say to you, they're going to play ball. The question is when and how many people are going to show up?
Right.
You know. And thanks for the call. Thanks for the call, Vinny. Appreciate it. You know what I mean? Who's going to show up?
If I'm a superstar, I'm not playing this year.
Why? Don't you want to suit up and go?
What's the point? What if you blow out your arm or tear an ACL
I guess we could
rip a hip for a 48-game season? That's just going to have a major asterisk anyway?
I know. And here's the thing, and I think this is, and I think I believe, and again, Chris Haynes is going to join us when the NBCSN audience returns in about a minute and a half. I think the NBA and its Players Association is much more attuned to the fact that they've got to pull together and do something for the sport at a time that's important, and you have the stage that is totally missing from baseball right now. Totally missing. That's what it seems like to me. That you have to understand, okay, yes, I got to get mine. I've got to figure this out. This is something going on with the virus, but this is an opportunity to have the stage and grow your sport. So when the collective bargaining comes up next, there's more pie to split up. Is that too pie in the sky, Chris?
Yeah.
Like you've got to pull together. You got to pull together.
I don't think baseball cares. Baseball in general.
Well, somebody's not in the room basically saying that we're screwing this up and we got to figure this out and we got to do it fast.
Shouldn't that be the commissioner?
Not if there's a bunch of owners that are... The commissioner only represents ownership. Remember when the commissionership used to represent the sport? Remember that? Back when we were kids? Or was that just a fallacy when we were kids anyway?
Probably something you believe as kids. You know, lies your teacher told you. You know, the commissioner cares about the good of the game. No,
Kennesaw Mountain Landis came down and did it for the good of the sport.
Right. The commissioner works for the owners.
Alan H. Bud Selig came out of his car dealership and...
And Bud Selig was super happy during the...
Chris Haynes, when we come back here on The Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We are going to take your phone calls later on in this hour right here live on NBCSN. All 3 hours of the Rich Eisen Show live here Monday through Friday. I love this man's work. He is all over it, and it being the NBA and anybody associated with the association, and his reporting on what happened over the weekend caused me to lift the phone and say, hey, tell me what's what. Tell me what happened. And that is Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. How are you, Chris? Are you there, Chris Haynes?
I'm here now. Sorry, Rich.
All good. And how are you, sir? You well? Everybody in your family good?
Yeah, we're good considering. You know, I think we've been in the house for about 3 months, and I'm getting used to my family again. There's some good times, there's some bad times. But I think if I am going to Orlando to cover that restart.
Yes.
I think a large portion of my family in the house would be happy to see me go.
Okay. Well, and again, that's an interesting part about all this. We even just had Jay Bilas on last hour talking about, hey, if you go cover go cover the NBA and you've got to go leave for 3-4 months, you got to make a decision yourself. And, you know, and that also puts into perspective that the athletes involved in all of these sports and the conversations that are being had, they are human beings. They're human beings first. And that's where I want to, I guess, lead this conversation to your report over the weekend. What did Kyrie Irving organize over the weekend? What did happen over the weekend in this video conference with NBA stars here?
Well, essentially, it was a call for about 80 players. At one point, it got to, I want to say, max of 84 players in there, and it was stars from all ranges. It was players from all ranges. So it wasn't just stars. You know, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook were in there, but basically, he wanted to give everybody who felt like they didn't have a voice in this process, wanted to give them a platform to air their grievances, air their concerns. It was a platform where a lot of young guys got to talk. Donovan Mitchell, Bam in Orlando. Donovan Mitchell made a point that, you know, he felt like with his extension being coming up this summer, you know, he was hesitant to play because he didn't want to mess up his chance to, you know, get a max contract. He felt like if he came back and what if he got hurt, that'll mess things up on his end. And so there's a bunch of concerns. And, you know, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, Avery Bradley, they all kind of agree with Kyrie that, you know, there's more important things going on than playing. And then, but that was the minority. You know, it was about 5 or 6 guys who let it be known that they weren't interested in playing. They felt like this is a time to make change in what's going on in our society right now. And the other portion, you know, the other people, they was just trying to explain to them the ramifications of not playing. So that there wasn't enough opposition to say this thing is headed in a place where there's not going to be a season. That's not the case at all. It was just, I think Kyrie Irving just giving people a platform to feel like they're in this process, and because that's what a lot of young folks, young players, that was their criticism, that they didn't have a vote in the say of if the season's going to restart or not.
Okay, so would you please give more of an airing to the philosophy that you said was in the minority, that instead of protest being part of the sport, protest instead of the sport? And who was that? Kyrie and Dwight Howard? I mean, who? And give a little bit more of an airing on that theory and philosophy, if you don't mind, Chris.
That was Kyrie, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, Carmelo Anthony. Trying to think who else. I know I'm missing somebody, but you know they're feeling. You know, Donovan's. His concern was, you know, his extension. It was more so on that, and then obviously with the COVID, he tested positive for corona before, so you know that's still on his mind as well. But his main concern in that call, you know, sources say, was his extension that he can receive this summer, not jeopardizing getting a max contract. But most of the guys that had a problem with going and gear and playing, it was due to, you know, the racial injustice going on in the aftermath of George Floyd tragedy. And so Dwight Howard, you know, he was passionate. He felt like if they don't take a stand now, like what are we going to stand for? And he felt like, you know, players were saying, you know, just the optics of just being huddled out there in Orlando, just being stuck, you know, just bad optics for a league that's majority African American, just to be stuck over there just for entertainment purposes and economical factors. And so they felt like, you know, we got to make a stand right now and take a stand that, you know, this is not about money. You know, will there be some sacrifices? Yes, but we feel like, you know, we have to be on the front lines. That's what Kyrie Irving was saying. Like, he was willing to risk it all to be on the front lines and try to make a difference in the community. So those were some of their reasons. Those some things that they were voicing, you know, during this call. And you know, it was a call that Kyrie Irving threw. You know, this wasn't a call sanctioned by the Players Association. You know, Kyrie is vice president of the Players Association. So this came out of nowhere, you know. And Chris Paul, he was a part of it. I mean, he called in, but this wasn't something that he sanctioned, and so you know, it was a little bit of a monkey wrench, sort of say. But you know, at the end of the day, I felt like it was one that was unified. It had a lot of people talking. Al-Farouq Amino, who's one of the quietest guys in the league, you know, he was very talkative and communicative. And so at the end of the day, it was a good phone call to get everybody on the same page, just to see where to go here from now. And if anything, just to allow people to have a voice who normally wouldn't.
Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Where does it go from here?
Rich, I don't think this changes anything.
Okay.
You know, look, the simple fact of the matter is, if you don't want to play, if you don't want to go, you won't get paid for those games. That's it. Nobody's forcing the players to go over there. And so, like I said, there's not enough opposition out there. Like if you poll, you know, 450 of the players, you know, the players that say that they're not going or don't want to go, they're going to be in the minority. Most players want to go over there and play, and largely because of financial ramifications. You know, the owners, I mean, the players feel like if they didn't play, owners rip that CBA up, which would most likely happen. And that 50-50 BRI split that they have now, it wouldn't be anywhere close to that. So the financial ramifications are the major factor in why most players want to go over there and play. But it doesn't change anything. This season will be restarted. It will resume in Orlando.
It will. Okay. It seems that Patrick Beverley made an insinuation that they're playing only because LeBron says yes. Would you agree with that? Did you hear that one, Chris?
I saw his tweet. I wouldn't say he's saying like if LeBron is playing, we're going to play. That's it. I think he respects LeBron as a basketball mind, and know that if he believes LeBron has the best interests of the league, and I think that's why Pat went and said that. Look, LeBron has a lot to lose. You know, he's not getting any younger. The Lakers were one of the hottest teams in the league before this thing ends. You know, LeBron is big on legacy. You know, yes, he wants to finish this season out and try to get a championship. It will mean so much to the Lakers. It will mean so much to his legacy to bring a title to the Lakers. So, you know, definitely for personal reasons, LeBron will want to play. But, you know, he's a businessman, and he understands how a player making $10 million a year right now, that player could be making $5 million next year if that CBA gets tore up. So, you know, they and for years and down the road had this ripple effect years later. So he understands the business side of not going out there and play. So the voicing all along, even with the superstar call that I reported about 2 or 3 weeks ago, with about 7 or 8 of superstars on the call, you know, they made it clear like it was in the league's best interest to play if the league can assure them that they'll have some of the safest measures, you know, around possible.
So I guess let's just bring this conversation full circle in a way with you, Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports. You know, where you mentioned how COVID-19 has placed a little bit of stress in your household, as it has in everybody's that's been quarantined. A family begins to feel a little bit more of a pressure point based on what's going on with this virus. How many folks are in your household, Chris?
Including myself, 6, and I'm all outnumbered. It's all women.
Okay.
My wife and 4 daughters.
Dang.
I don't mean to laugh, but I hear you.
It's okay. It's okay.
And I'm
okay.
imagining all ages, correct? Of all ages, or are they all young?
17, 16, 11, and 9.
Okay, so this is perfect in terms of bringing this all. So everyone's got a different agenda, okay? And everybody's got a different agenda. And so in the fact that I'm hearing what you had to say about the NBA here, everyone's got different agendas. Or different concerns, let's put it this way. Let's put it in different concerns and wants and desires that COVID-19 is beginning to place pressure points on. Isn't it possible, or is this too optimistic, that the NBA can all get together and that for those who are saying we shouldn't be playing, we should be protesting, that the NBA is used as the platform from which the protest and the conversations can be used as a platform, can be used to get out and bring the attention into the arena that can then be sent out into the community, and the owners and the players can, continue the business. And at the end, somebody hoists a trophy and they say, there's no asterisk here. You try and come to a spot for 3 months and figure this thing out and play in a pandemic, right? Don't you think that that's possible, Chris?
No, that's very possible. And that's what the players on the other side of the fence, that was what they were saying. One of those players is Garrett Temple, who is also a member of the executive committee for the players. He was saying, like, there will be a bigger platform for us to make a bigger change if we went out there and played. All eyeballs would be on the NBA. Everybody wants to see this sport back. And, of course, the league would understand the flight of the African American and what's going on right now and how everybody has been affected by this emotionally, physically. It's been a draining process. So, of course, the league will do what they can within their parameters to make sure the players' voice is heard and that they're able to do something in honor, do something in a way to give back and give them a platform to do so. And so that's, like I said, Rich, that's why when you ask the questions, I think the league's going to be a start. Yeah, this is not going to stop anything. That call for Kyrie was more so just for people to have a voice, because when the vote was approved about 2 weeks ago when the players approved the NBA's 22-team format,
yes,
a lot of players like, hold on, I didn't have a say. Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't vote. Like, I didn't do. And so that's what that call was about.
Okay, so when we hear about unity coming out of the call, it's as if, okay, we've all been heard and we feel more unified going forward here, not unified in not playing, is what you're saying.
Yeah, not unified, not playing. Yeah, just unified on everybody's being heard. We feel good. Even Kyrie, earlier in the call, he's like, I don't want to go. Like, I don't plan on going. I want to do what I have to do in my community, work on the front lines. I made a lot of money. I'm willing to risk it all. But later in the call lasted for about an hour and 40 minutes. Later on in that call, Kyrie said, you know what, guys, I'm glad that we had this talk. I feel good about where we're headed. Now, if everybody feels like it's in our best interest to go over there in Orlando, then I'm going to be with you guys. And so that's why I said, that's why I wrote it like that. It was a unifying call. Everybody, if not getting on the same page, but just hearing everybody out, because that was the main thing. People felt like they didn't have a voice.
Okay. So to use, I guess, an analogy, he came in thinking figuratively the world was flat, and now he sees it as round, is what you're saying, Chris.
I'm going to let you go with that.
Just trying to bring some levity to this world, man. Chris, your reporting is so great, and I appreciate you coming on to share it, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Take care, my guy.
You got it right back at you. At Chris B. Haynes. Follow him on Twitter. I do. You should, too. He's plugged in, to say the least. Plugged in. And okay, so now they just got to figure out the health and safety protocols and hoop it up, man, because LeBron wants to. That's what Patrick Beverley said. Come on, Lakers and Clippers have got to get in that Western Conference Finals there in Disney World.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
Right? And Jimmy Goldstein will still fly out there with a mask.
He will somehow get in the bubble, man.
Whatever. He's probably got the antibodies from like a 1969 party in his house.
Yeah.
All right. Your phone calls at 844-204-RICH. We come back.
Yeah, he's covered.
By the way, you're so right about that. Like, no fans are going to be allowed, but somehow Jimmy Goldstein will still be sitting courtside in his hats and designer outfits. That's incredible. That's funny. I got a picture with him a couple years ago.
Did you?
He was walking around the lobby, and I was like, I got to stop and get a photo with him.
Dude, when the NBA All-Star Game was out here in Los Angeles, Turner Sports had their party, their pre-party at Jimmy's house.
Ugh.
Okay?
I think he bought Wilt's old house.
I don't know what it was, but we walked in, and it seemed like every crevice had a story. Every room had a story. If those walls could talk, That's all I could think of as I went into this room that looked like it was out of Austin Powers, you know?
Yeah. Great view, though, right?
Oh, my gosh. It was overlooking Los Angeles.
Yeah. If you don't know who we're talking about, just Google Jimmy Goldstein. He's amazing.
Did I call him Goldsmith on the air? Did I say that? Or sorry,
no, I don't know.
Goldsmith?
No,
Okay.
you said Goldstein. Yeah, he's incredible.
Once again, another person my wife met before I did out here. All right. Ron Shelton is yet to confirm for 11:40 a.m., but he will.
All right,
We'll give him a call. He'll be out there. He'll be out there. And I'm imagining 11:40 a.m. in his mind is still too early for it being 5 o'clock somewhere.
I don't know. I can get us a rain out.
So all of this, 844-204-RICH. I'm gonna hold everybody's calls until NBCSN comes back on the air. How much time do we have left on that front? How much? About a minute, about 70 seconds. Very good. Hank Azaria is going to join us. For sure, Jim Brockmire is confirmed to join him.
Fantastic.
Jim Brockmire will join Hank Azaria. And there are some issues that Hank told me Jim wants to hit. Would you like to hear those?
Absolutely. Musburger,
right.
by chance?
No, there's not. But I think we could actually ask him that anyway. But he wants to know, he wants to hit out on a couple of things too. Some of the issues are where to go from here. I got to call him up here. Oh, yeah, how a 50-game season benefits the Mets, apparently. Something Brockmire wants to hit on. We're back in a second here on the Rich Eisen Show. "32 years ago today, it was Bull Durham in a theater near you." I remember going to see that in the movie theater, and I'm like, wow.
Oh, you did? You saw it in the theater?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
yeah, I did.
Awesome.
I mean, just because you weren't old enough to go to the movies
No, I was
in
7.
Late 80s.
Yeah, I was 7.
No, I was not 7.
Got
it. Yes, I remember going to a movie theater, as we used to call it back in the Old West.
Cinema.
Let's check on our poll question results. End of hour number 2. I need to retweet this. I need to hit that with a retweet.
Yeah, hit
Go
it.
for it. Okay.
32nd anniversary of Bull Durham's release. What's the best baseball movie? Okay, though it's tightened up a little bit. Major League leads the way, 41%. Field of Dreams, 28%. 20% Bull Durham, 11% The Natural.
All right, let me get it right here because, boy, we've been active on social media in the beginning of this show. I appreciate TJ Jefferson and you, Chris, and the rest of the gang at home.
We got a lot of
firing on all cylinders.
A lot of people throwing out Rookie of the Year, For Love of the Game.
Okay.
Moneyball is a big one, too, in the Sandlot. But, again, Twitter only allows for 4 options.
League of Their Own is here's another one, 8 Men Out, which is a dynamite movie. John Sayles directed. John Cusack was in it, right? D.B. Sweeney playing Shoeless Joe Jackson. John Mahoney, best known as Frasier's dad, playing the manager.
Oh, nice.
Playing the manager. Just great stuff. You writing your term paper over there, Mike? What are you doing over there? What do you got? What are you doing?
I'm just typing some. Nope.
Yeah, you got busted.
What are you doing? What are you sending a note to somebody?
I was actually in the chat room. I was typing something.
What are you in the chat room? In the YouTube chat
Yeah,
room?
in the wormhole?
Mike, leave that to TJ.
No, I like.
I don't want to. Honestly, I don't want to go LeVar Ball on you. But
Mike,
stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
I have people in there.
You're also lying because you're like there's no Del Tufo posts in the wormhole
I'm typing it right now.
Dude, I feel like I'm talking to my children.
All right.
I feel like I'm like. Do you want me to take your iPad time away from you as punishment?
I can do my job. I'm functioning. I answered you.
If you don't,
you guys are like saying I didn't fight.
I thought I'd leave that at home.
Don't take my iPad away, Rich. I'll be very mad.
We put time limits on iPads at home. That's the way.
Sounds like a good idea,
shut them
though,
off,
right?
You know what? Where it shuts down, it shuts off on them.
It's the best.
Oh yeah, curtain down. Just curtain closes. They get like a 1-minute warning. Your time's almost up.
I would have been so mad as a kid.
Oh my God, dude! There's got to be some sort of guardrails.
I would have been. Oh, that would have been.
Has anybody chucked it because they're mad?
No, actually, after a while, they understand that there's a system here.
All right, well, that's good.
And then there's a begging for 15 more
Like a
minutes.
barter?
A barter situation.
Can we get extended 5 minutes?
Any notes been written because of the iPads?
Actually, there have been, but
Okay.
I have not shared
All
them.
right, you haven't
I have not shared
shared them
them.
yet. Okay,
Let's
all
go to Joe in San Diego. You're here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Rich, just want to check in because, I've been a Padre fan forever, and you're hating on them. And my one chance we had against you guys was 98, and you guys were probably, in fairness to you, the best baseball team ever in 98.
Yeah.
And not to bring up something bad for you, Joe, but I covered that World Series. I was there in that game one. I was there in that game one where Tony Gwynn put one off of the fair pole, as we'll call it. And the place went totally quiet, dead quiet. It looked like the Padres were coming out of the gate. And Yankee fans, we all, despite our multiple championships, and I say multiple twice because, it's
a couple.
The most ever.
And I'm a ringless town.
Okay,
Rich.
and so again, it's the whole season was just going to go right down the tubes because here comes the San Diego Padres. The Yankees had bases full of pinstripes, a 2-2 count on Tino Martinez, and Mark Langston threw one right down the middle. That Tino Martinez watched hit the glove, called for ball three. Called for ball three, and then Tino hit the next one out for a grand slam that changed the tenor of the entire series. I have to call it like I see it. That was strike three. That was his strike three, as his third strike there was I've ever seen.
I got a Christopher Walken impression, if you don't mind, 10 seconds.
If it's clean, you got it.
Oh, no, of course. No, he's looking over at you. He says, Rich, now you got a par 4. Mind you, the water's on the left, but oh no, it's out of bounds on the right.
Okay, Joe in San Diego, he'll be at Funny Bones as long as you're socially distant.
Pretty good.
Thank you for the call. Was that Kevin Pollak all of a sudden? You go Kevin Pollak on us?
It's close.
Our buddy Kevin? Let's go to Daniel in Houston. You're here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Daniel?
Yeah, hey, Rich. Hey, first off, I want to say hope yourself, Susie, the family, the crew, everyone is safe. Give a shout-out to
right back at you and
yourself
your
and
family.
DP.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
But, yeah, no, absolutely. Hey, just wanted to weigh in on a couple things. One, I know you were talking earlier, and I liked what you were saying around your take on MLB and hey, let's get this together. Let's get our safety protocols in place. Let's get baseball back going because this is a platform where they could really grow that sport. But the third thing I wanted to say is that I get it. It's probably biased because I am from Houston, but it's kind of buried in the news on Friday that the Yankees are now, I think, as of 11 o'clock Eastern time, we're supposed to be releasing something to a judge as far as cheating. So just kind of wanted to get your take on that.
Well, first of all, Daniel, I couldn't hear you over the someone is banging a trash can somewhere in here. I couldn't hear that.
Oh, that's cheap, Rick. That's cheap.
But no, you're right, man. Apparently, Rob Manfred wrote the Yankees a letter in 2017 outlining what he found out about alleged cheating by the New York Yankees that got sealed, and a judge has demanded it to be unsealed. And we shall find out. We shall find out.
I think it's one of those situations where I know as a longtime Astros fan, we catch a lot of grief for the cheating, and I don't agree with or deny. I mean, the allegations and what came out was what it was.
Yes.
But it's a lot of the Yankees players going, well, you guys cheated. We could have won the World Series, but it's like, oh, okay, now what's going on now?
No, I know. Let's get it all out there. And Daniel, before I let you go, I very rarely ask this of somebody who calls in. Are you wearing your shirt, or you're keeping it on because there might be something buzzing underneath it?
Got
there
two.
There you go. Just firing it in there.
You got him twice. Hey, Aroldis Chapman and Aaron Judge very quiet over the weekend.
Excuse me. Aroldis
Very
Chapman.
quiet.
Did I not call it when it happened? When the whole buzzer stuff was really on fire so long. I remember it like it was just 4 months ago instead of 19 million years ago as it currently feels.
It feels years ago.
When Aroldis Chapman got taken yard to end the American League Championship Series by Jose Altuve, who sat on the pitch and yanked it out of the park like he knew it was coming. And Chapman, remember at the time he was smiling. And Yankee fans were like, what's so funny about it? Right. That he had the look of somebody like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Again, it did it. That really happened. I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out.
And boy, would it would be particularly, right here if it's like Aaron Judge was involved and all of that.
Well, the Athletic had a report.
Judge's strikeouts that year were
right?
terrible.
Mike, he also set the rookie home run record, I think.
I mean, yeah.
But
is Ezekiel Elliott commented on
Ezekiel
the news?
Elliott just tweeted out HIPAA ?
Oh yeah, he wants to know how did it come out that he's tested positive for coronavirus?
Yeah.
Well, his agent confirmed it, a report that was already out there.
Right. How'd the report get started? Yeah. So
I
this
don't
is
know.
what we're looking at, though, this year, I believe.
If you're just tuning in right now, my colleague Ian Rappaport reporting out that several Dallas Cowboys tested positive for COVID-19, including Zeke.
Yeah.
So there's that. And we hope he said he's feeling good, and just let's keep it going. Hope in terms of feeling good. Let's go to Scott in Kansas City, Missouri, where we should all been last week for Big Slick.
Should have been.
What do you got, Scott? What's on your mind?
Hey, how are you, Rich? I love your show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Couple things. You're missing a baseball movie.
What do you got?
Black and white. Burt Lancaster.
So
Pride of the Yankees.
Pride of the was Burt Lancaster in Pride of the Yankees? I thought that was Gary Cooper.
Gary Cooper, I mean.
Wasn't it? Okay.
Was it Gary Cooper?
Yeah,
Maybe
Gary.
I'm wrong with that, but Pride of the Yankees still rocks.
Okay, Burt Lancaster, by the way, was great as Moonlight Graham in Pride of the Yankees.
Was.
I'm sorry, that was Field of Dreams, which is a baseball movie. What else you got over there, Scott?
Well, two other things. I know you got other color. It goes to your whole Field of Dreams thing.
Okay.
There's a classic line in the film. James Earl Jones, as Thomas Mann, talks about baseball. Build it and they will come. It's a 2-minute soliloquy. If that doesn't make it a baseball film, I don't know what does.
And I appreciate the call. Thank you, Scott.
Babe Ruth played himself in Pride of the Yankees.
That's right. Although, as people have pointed out, that remarkable speech by James Earl Jones that does leave you, loving the sport.
Will come, Ray.
It has been pointed out, and I know this might be raining on the beautiful parade that is that speech.
Uh-oh.
But most of the players that came out of the corn that he was waxing rhapsodic about would never wanted to play with somebody of his skin color.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about it. Like if they were coming out of the corn.
They were having the game there this year, too, with Fox.
Oh, they were, right.
Yeah.
And how about that? We had Kevin Costner on the show, what was that, last year?
Last year, yep.
And he said that last shot of pulling out wide and seeing all of the cars lined up to come to save the farm, and that if you build it, they will come. They were coming to end the movie. I get goosebumps right now as it widens out and you see all of the headlights lining up for what appears to be miles. Costner said that was not done in any way, shape, or form with any sort of special effects, that they legitimately had cars lined up that far.
Yeah, they put an ad out or something?
Right, like they put out, and if you advertise, they will come. Yeah. They did.
That's a great job.
And he said that the original star of that film that they had lined up for it, or he was going to do it because Costner couldn't get out of another movie or something like that, but originally lined up to play the main character of this film was Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And the reason why the director stuck to his guns and wanted Costner, who at the time wasn't all that famous. He had yet to be Kevin Costner that he is today and has been for decades. The story he told is that the reason why the director stayed and made sure that Costner could be made available to do this film was because he wanted somebody even though Robin Williams, as we all know, is a great actor, he wanted somebody where you didn't believe that the guy was just mainly hearing voices, period.
Yeah. Robin Williams looked like he would hear voices in the cornfield.
Right.
Whereas Kevin Costner did not.
Well, I mean, he heard the voices in the cornfield and was kind of stunned by it.
Right.
As opposed to hearing voices all the time coming from the cornfield.
Right. Costner was filming Revenge at the same time.
That was what it was.
Yeah.
Crazy movie.
He tells great Burt Lancaster stories, too. How do you think that that's not a baseball movie? Are you doing that just for the sake of argument?
He's arguing. He knows. He is.
I mean it's on the Sci-Fi Channel.
At least I believed. Is it on the Sci-Fi Channel?
They show it, Field of Dreams, on the Sci-Fi Channel all the time.
No, they don't. I got to. No.
They definitely
Hang on.
Dude,
Hang on.
Ray
you right
Kinsella
now.
doesn't get on his bicycle with the alien and go
Exactly.
flying. Come on now, man. It is a close encounter, but not of the third kind.
Talk about a movie that doesn't hold up. What?
What, E.T.?
What?
E.T.
Are you serious?
Oh, my God. You didn't say
Are
that.
you serious?
When was the last time you saw E.T.?
E.T.'s
I can't see it again
amazing.
because it's way too.
yeah.
And I don't want to show it to my kids because I just remembered how scared I was of the government and all of that. And spoiler alert, what happened with E.T. You know, oh my God, it's been a long time since I've seen it. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Terrifying.
So I can't sit here and take that position against you just for the sake of doing it.
It's one of the 3 movies I saw twice in the theater.
But I will
I
definitely,
back.
I will say this, and I know. I believe it. You may not believe it. Rudy was a fraud. I totally believe it, and I don't care what the director says.
You just had to.
I don't care that we're up against the final part of the hour, and I know that it's going to be difficult for Don.
You got to move on.
Our
You
executive
got to move
producer,
on.
to get that. No!
Yes.
He's such an expert at getting that photograph up.
This desktop
look at
now.
it.
I should have waited till right now to bring it up.
Well done, Don.
My timing's off. Your phone calls and Hank Azaria, final hour.
You told a story about the genesis of All Right, All Right.
Yes.
All Right.
Here's where that comes from. So, Dazed and Confused.
Yes. Genius film.
I'm in the right bar, the right time. And a guy goes, "Hey, you ever done any acting? You might be right, just right for this part." Legendary casting director and producer Don Phillips. I come back, and they do what's called a makeup and wardrobe test, meaning they're shooting another scene one night. I'm just going to show up. Director's going to step off the set and come and look and go, "Great, I approve." Well, he comes and looks. He goes, "Geez, this is Wooderson. It's great." He goes, "Listen, you're not scheduled to work tonight, but we're over here at the Top Notch drive-thru, and you think Wooderson might want to pick up on the redheaded intellectual, Jake?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he goes, "Want to shoot it?" I'm like, "Sure." So I go get in the car. About to shoot my first scene ever in a film.
Of your career.
Of my career. And I had been listening to a lot of 70s rock and roll at that time. And there was a certain live recording of a Jim Morrison concert in like Amsterdam or somewhere where he barks at the crowd, "All right, all right, all right, all right," 4 times real aggressively though. I'm not thinking about that, but this comes back. So I'm in the car and I'm like, "Who's my man?" I'm nervous. I'm about to hear act. "Who's my man? Who's Wooderson?" I said, "Well, I'm about my car." And I go, "Well, I'm in my 70 Chevelle. Yes. There's one." I said, "I'm about getting high." I said, "Well, Slater's riding shotgun. You know he's got a DuBois rolled up." There's 2. I said, "And I'm about rock and roll." And I said, "Well, I got Nugent Stranglehold in the 8-track, man." There's 3, and I hear action. And I look up, and in my mind, I go, "And I'm about chicks. I got 3 out of 4. Let's go get the 4th. All right, all right, all right." Pull out. That was it. First words ever said on screen.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
He is the total package.
Heard nationwide, televised online at richeisenshow.com.
David Faraday back here on the show.
Download and podcast at richeisenshow.com.
What do you think of Koepka's mustache?
Is it sort of a 70s porno mustache? I'm not sure.
Earlier on the show, MLB analyst Tom Verducci. Coming up, college basketball analyst Jay Bilas. Yahoo NBA insider Chris Haynes. Plus actor Hank Azaria. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Final hour of the Rich Eisen Show is going to be a fun one. You've just tuning in right now. You've missed Tom Verducci on Major League Baseball and the shrug emoji of the 2020 season. And you missed Jay Bilas and Chris Haynes last hour on the possibility of the NCAA playing football this fall and the NBA. Chris Haynes is reporting on Yahoo Sports over the weekend about Kyrie Irving putting together a video conference, I guess a Zoom. We don't know what his video conference of choice was.
Unclear.
But the players have come out of it feeling more unified and better about going to Orlando and having a playing season, even though the reporting made it seem like Kyrie Irving was trying to get people to not go to Orlando, and that he eventually came around towards the end saying, let's all do what the majority wants to do. And Chris Haynes of Yahoo says the majority is players wanting to go. And then during this whole conversation, coming out of it, my colleagues at NFL Network, NFL Media Group, Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero reporting several Cowboys and Texans have tested positive for coronavirus. Ezekiel Elliott, one of the Cowboys supposedly who has tested positive for COVID-19, his agent, Rocky Arsenault, who we know very well, good dude, good guy, guy who introduced Marshall Faulk for enshrinement in the Pro Football Hall of Fame because they have been attached to the hip for many decades together, confirming that Zeke does have it and that Zeke's feeling good, which is great to hear. The chief medical officer of the NFL, Dr. Alan Sills, was on this program a week ago tomorrow saying, look, we know that people are going to test positive for coronavirus during the season. We just need to identify who they are and figure out how to prevent the spread and then keep going. This is essentially what he initially mentioned. And I'm just imagining, during the playing season, we'll find out who has tested positive for coronavirus because they're not going to be able to play. For the moment, though, Zeke is wondering how everyone found out about it right now.
Yeah, so he has...
There you go. That's his tweet, HIPAA.
Yeah, he has just tweeted twice more in the last couple of minutes because people are pointing out that his agent did confirm it.
Yes.
He said, my agent only confirmed the story was already written.
Yeah.
Reporters have been calling him all morning. He did not break the story to the media.
We just won't. Well, I mean, I guess we're gonna have to find out during the season why somebody's not playing. We always know somebody's not playing because of X, Y, and Z, and then teams get fined if they don't tell the truth about it. And I even mentioned to Dr. Sills last week that if you are going to come up with a plan on when somebody's taken out and then returned to play once they're clear of the virus, it'll be sort of like a protocol.
Yeah,
like they haven't gotten out of COVID protocol and they're not playing. Nobody knows. It's June 15th and nobody knows. It's June 15th and nobody knows. Nobody still knows what this what this virus is and how, and how to, I guess, outside of New Zealand, how to completely combat it. I mean, look, nobody knows. Who knows? And we just hope that as we move forward, somebody who gets it doesn't have to be hospitalized, that there will be therapeutics that help this sport out or sports get back in the mix. In the meantime, there's folks like Roger in Oregon want to chime in here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Roger?
Hey, I just wanted to go on this COVID thing.
Go for it.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just wanted to say is I'm a hardcore sports fan. Dallas Cowboys, go, 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 and this has hit me hard. I'm actually crying. And let's just not play sports this year.
Well,
I mean, why do we have to wait for somebody to die before we stop playing sports? I mean, I want sports. I live for it.
Well, I guess this is indicative of the conversation that everyone's having right now, that we can't. And thanks for the call, Roger. And keep watching us, and we'll be here for you if you need your fix. And I appreciate him getting all emotional about it. And we all want sports to come back for various reasons. One, I think it'll make us feel normal. Two, we miss it. Three, it's a main economic engine for so many people. And that's kind of, I guess, this conversation indicative of everything that we're having right now, that we can't live in quarantine forever. We have to learn how to live with this and learn how to identify who has it and learn how to identify who's this person who has it has been in contact with, and learn how to make sure that everybody washes their hands, wears a mask, and does everything right and practices social distancing to keep it from exploding. And we're seeing otherwise. Everybody's seeing otherwise. So I think all sports are going to give this a whirl. You heard Chris Haynes say basketball's going. I think in the next 24 hours, we're going to hear baseball's going. We'll see how many players are up for going. I think the NFL is going. You heard from Jay Bilas basically say college football's going. And it's going to have to take something completely explosive to shut everything down again. Quite honestly.
Seems like it.
In the meantime, we'll go down another nostalgia wormhole. I mean, ESPN, with their 30 for 30 last night, the 1998 season, which I was there. I was on the Sports Center set. Yeah. And when, Mark McGwire decided to stop playing baseball, he's the one who sent a fax to me, and I announced his retirement. They're in the middle, I think, of a halftime of a Sunday night football game on ESPN. And I sat down and I interviewed him about a week later, flew out to Southern California. I had known him, my wife and I. At the time, my girlfriend, future wife, and I are great friends before girlfriend and future wife. Not to go down too deep of a wormhole here, but Susie and I knew Mark and his girlfriend and knew Mark very well. Loved the guy, rooted for him. Couldn't have been nicer. That was my experience with him. Probably got too close to him, to be honest. But, I'm in my late 20s on Sports Center. Got to meet him, couldn't have been nicer, was at the ascension of the sport, which I love so much, my first love being baseball, and sat down, asked him point blank, did you ever take a steroid? And he lied right to my face. I haven't spoken to him in many, many years, and I still root for him. Love the guy. Also taught me how to get out of a sand trap. To this day, one of the best shots I've got in the bag, thanks to Mark McGwire.
Good golf.
Who knew? But I just remember, again, just being at the forefront of all of it. Being at that home run derby in Fenway Park. That's a photograph of me at that home run derby in Fenway Park, 1999, when they had the all-century team the next night. Kevin Costner was doing the emceeing. It was remarkable. Yeah. And you see Mark putting his son's name on his hat. There's McGwire and Sosa. This was on Baseball Tonight. I was probably taking the toss from Carl Ravitch right there. I also saw a photograph because they were, then in the home run derby that took place. Ted Williams was in the stands, and I went and I interviewed him in his hitter.net hat. And then McGwire went on such a home run jag, hitting one ball over the Green Monster after another. He told me halfway through when he went back to he stopped in the middle, and he went back to the dugout. It's because he broke his bat. And he told me, Pedro Martinez said, there's no way you're changing bats. Look at what you're doing. So the last several home runs he hit in his historic at-bat of the home run derby, he used a broken bat. He was hitting home runs with a broken bat. And again, you could sit here and say, well, he's all rocked up. So, yeah. But at the time, it was unreal.
It was unreal.
It was truly an unbelievable experience that he was there too. His ex-wife was following around. His ex-wife's new husband. I got to meet them all. They were. I've never seen another situation like that. His son was a bat boy. It was truly unbelievable.
I mean, the Marises were following around.
And the pressure, by the way. So was the commissioner. I mean, the pressure that you'd have to hit this home run, otherwise everybody's going to have to follow you around. Yep. No wonder he missed first base.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
And Mark Gray said to like catch him and put him back.
Yeah, get back, Mark. And he was beloved. I mean, I think.
Oh, everyone was hugging him. Sammy Sosa came in from the outfield.
From outfield. Yep.
It was crazy. It saved the game. It's remarkable. Steroids, whatever. Who cares?
Yep.
I don't blame you for taking that approach, and I know I don't blame you for saying that.
Baseball, yeah, that was.
And I know you didn't watch. There was nothing really new in the doc. It was just kind of a fun, hey, remember how awesome baseball was and how this summer made us feel. That whole season, too, was incredible. The streak ended for Cal Ripken. The Yankees won 125 games that year.
Yeah, I know.
Ken Griffey, he started out as the guy who was supposed to go neck and neck with McGuire, and then Sosa out of nowhere hits 20 home runs in June, and it was like, holy crap.
And they got along really well, too. It was really great how these two guys got along.
And the Maris family embraced both of these guys. It was
because McGuire embraced the Maris family, too.
And there was a lot of talk. Mark was a free agent. He got traded to St. Louis in '97, and he wasn't sure if he was going to stay. He really embraced the town.
One of our Rich Eisen show diehard crew members, Evan Saverin, sent me a link to the Sports Center after the 60-second home run, the night of the 60-second home run being hit, and it was Stewart and I on the set. And I'm like, all right, I'll take a look at it. And
look at that.
Okay, there we are. We were on the set, and I looked at it, and we kind of did like a little bit of a Mark McGuire elbow sort of,
like the Bash Brothers thing,
we did that. And as the wide shot, we did that on the wide shot, and then there we are, and we were all happy, and I was just like feeling nostalgic watching this thing. And then I thought in my head, again, I'll always shoot you straight. I thought to myself, who did the highlight? Was it me or Stu? And I forgot about it. And I thought to myself, it's got to be me. I'm the baseball guy, and he would always do the Jordan stuff, and he would Bigfoot me on the Jordan stuff, and I had to do this. I mean, McGuire was my guy. Stewart did the highlight, and I sat there livid as a 50-year-old guy. I'm thinking, how the hell did he get the highlight?
He got it.
He got it.
How did he get the highlight?
How did he get the highlight?
You remember?
You guys
I don't remember. How do I remember? I literally was sitting here as a soon-to-be 51-year-old guy, watching the thing, saying, my first, who got the highlight? And it was him.
Assume though it was you, right?
I did assume it was me, and then it was him. I'm like, son of a. Old habits die hard.
Yeah, right.
That was amazing. It was an amazing time, and then thorough, utter disappointment. Thorough, utter disappointment. And we all sensed it at the time that maybe that's the way we'll view this through that prism. But I guess that's what that 30 for 30 was last night, was let's just remember, most of it was let's just remember the good times that they were rolling. And the problem for that is that was on the heels of the documentary that they just had on Lance Armstrong, and that was on the heels of The Last Dance, where all of it was kind of rehashed. Everyone was expecting this to be something similar from what I understand. I haven't seen it, but it wasn't. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Our poll question, Chris, you want to re-hit that right there? Hank Azaria is about to join us, the star of Brockmire on IFC, and Hank is going to be joining us. I believe Brockmire is going to join us as well.
All right.
We'll ask this of Hank, because Brockmire apparently wants to join us to help fix baseball, because in the final season that's on Hulu tonight, he plays the commissioner of baseball. What's the best baseball movie? You see the four offerings right up there. Chris, where do things stand right now?
Major League is pulling away now. 42%, 26% Field of Dreams, 22% Bull Durham, 10% for The Natural.
Warren in New Jersey's been hanging on a long time. What's up, Warren?
Beetle in the silver spoon. Oh, hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Warren?
What's up, guys? How are you, man? Hey, listen. I really compare Field of Dreams to Passing the Cradle earlier.
Yeah. Put him back on hold and tell him that his cell's off. Will you do that, Mike? Can you do that for me? We want to just make sure he might be in a bad cell. The guy's been literally hanging on for 2 hours. I'm tap dancing to make sure that Warren's. Have you tested? Is it okay? Stand in one spot, Warren. You there, Warren?
Stand still.
I sure am, Rich. I'm sorry about that, guys.
What's up?
Got you.
Nothing. I was laughing at a guy that well, I shouldn't say laughing at him. I was laughing with you all at the guy that compared Field of Dreams to Cats in a Cradle. That's like comparing like We Are Family, the song We Are Family, to The Godfather 2. But
well, they're both our families. I understand. Yeah, but well done. That's well done.
Yeah. But listen, I listen to you guys. I wish I could listen to you guys live. I do listen to. I have the app on my phone.
Okay.
I've been playing catch up on all your shows. So I'm a medical professional. So I've been out there fighting the war on COVID, one swab at a time, and everything. So
Thank you for doing that.
Ain't no problem. I thank you guys for definitely keeping it. But I was going by listening to your poll question, and I'm like, why is Field of Dreams? I've never seen Field of Dreams, first of all. No, I have not seen Field of Dreams.
Oh.
Was that Mike that answered the phone when I said I hadn't Field?
No, that was Adam, our call screener, who has been told to let anybody through, but no, I'm just joking.
What do you mean by that? Anybody?
That's a rough one.
But I got the oof. I got the Mike Del Tufo oof when I said.
Yes.
When he was,
so what would you vote for?
I haven't seen it, but I felt like for me, The Natural is my favorite film. But
it's great.
I don't even like The Sandlot. Like The Sandlot's basically a ripoff of Stand by Me. You know,
interesting. Interesting. Next, look at Warren just bringing it all. And by the way, Warren, thank you for hanging on, and thank you for doing what you do professionally. Keep being out there, listening to us or watching us whenever you can. How about that? That's like a Jimmy Get the Lights film teaching, film lesson, film class conversation.
Interesting.
It's a little bit more fun in the sun than Stand By Me.
A little more fun.
Well, I mean, it's more Stephen King-y, since it's Stephen King.
Sure.
You know, and I guess it's like guys hanging out, going through a life-changing event for the summer. It's The Sandlot is just a ripoff of Stand By Me, and he hasn't seen Field of Dreams. The Natural, though, is a wonderful, beautiful. Barry Levinson directed, an incredible cast, despite Brockmire saying who was really in it. Redford, Duvall, Barbara Hershey, Kim Basinger.
I jumped the gun on that.
Okay.
Accusation.
The great Joe Don Baker is the whammer. Richard Farnsworth is the bench coach. Wilford Brimley looking nice and young at the age of 35. Was he 35 when he made The Natural? Has anybody turned older, younger, other than Benjamin Button, more than Wilford Brimley? Right? Wilford Brimley is like the Benjamin Button of acting, like came out of the womb looking really old.
I'm serious.
Wilford Brimley is still with us.
Now, again, he was Wilford Brimley was
86.
How old was he in The Natural? Because he was 50 in Cocoon. Literally, my age.
Okay, so The Natural.
He was 50. He played a geriatric individual at my age.
He would have been about 49 in The Natural when they filmed it.
Come on. He was 49 years old in The Natural.
Yeah, so that movie came out in 84, so I got to assume they filmed it in 83,
Yeah.
so he would have been 49.
Wilford Brimley.
I mean,
maybe we haven't seen him. Does he look younger now? Is he the actual Benjamin Button
He's still with us.
acting?
He's still with us.
Okay.
He's about 85 right now.
The right thing to do is to take a break and welcome Hank Azaria when we come back. There he is. There's Henry. And apparently Jim Brockmire is standing by with Ron Shelton behind him. Why would you go anywhere? Let's go to Jason in Michigan. You're here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's up, Jason?
Hi, Jason. This is Rich, longtime fan, Michigan fan.
Oh,
you know,
boy.
I grew up with Bo and watching Al Kayla and the Bird, you know, watching Tigers. I mean, I got a problem with these steroids. These writers writing about bashing these boys, you know. I mean, they brought people back to baseball for one, okay? Nobody gave a shit. Football started. Nobody cared about that World Series. But they added 4 teams, well, 3 teams in the National League. How many pitchers are on a team? So all of a sudden, you got minor league pitchers. The next day, they're a pro baseball player. Now they're pitching
No, I hear what you're saying, that there were more inexperienced pitchers because of expansion of baseball and all of that. But look, man, we haven't seen 70, 75 home runs. We haven't seen anything like that. We haven't seen anything like this. Not even like the only thing we've seen close is Giancarlo Stanton threatening, 60. We haven't seen anything like 1998 again. I appreciate the call too, Jason.
Mark McGwire hit 49 as a rookie.
No, I know that, and I've said that before.
American League.
No, look, and that's part of the reason. Thank you for the call. That's part of the reason why I think Bonds should also be considered for Hall of Fame enshrinement. Bonds, as a Pittsburgh Pirate, was one of the greatest leadoff hitters ever. Bonds was unbelievable, and not looking like he was, an upside-down pyramid. Right? I mean...
He got very big.
So, Clemens, too, in the 80s. McGwire, still, if I'm not mistaken, it was Aaron Judge who finally broke his rookie home run record. So, that stood a long time. Bonds stole 52 bases one year. Come on. He was the 1990 MVP. Bonds has got a lot going for him, but and anybody who sits there and says that it was great for baseball, it was. It brought baseball back, it was. But in terms of putting him in the Hall of Fame, in your Henry Aaron, you're like, hey, hello. I broke Babe's record. Guess what I was on?
Coca-Cola.
Fiber.
Yeah, hot dogs.
844-204-RICH is the number to dial, still to call. All right, when we come back, my buddy Hank Azaria will join us. And I have been told, again, and I hope this is the case, I have been told that Jim Brockmire is, in fact, either going to be conferenced in or he's just going to be right near Hank to handle some of the hard issues that are hitting Major League Baseball today. That's next, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show, not just to the listeners and viewers on NBCSN, YouTube stream, and SiriusXM Channel 211, but to a gentleman who I have known for damn near 20 years. Got to meet him years ago. We have, I'm not going to lie, felt at each other on occasion around the poker table. And that's not a metaphor for anything.
Ew.
And he is the star of Brockmire IFC, which has gotten for its 4th season, which drops on Hulu. Tomorrow night. 100% on the old Rotten Tomatoes. 100. He's keeping it 100. The star of Brockmire IFC, my buddy Hank Azaria, back here on the show. How are you, Henry?
I'm good, Rich. How are you? We have felt at each other, and we have felt each other.
You know what?
On
yes.
different occasions.
No, I understand that. I understand that. I'm going through the mental Rolodex right now to see who can actually confirm such a thing. But
well, I meant the emotional. I feel you.
Oh, I see. You. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Which
I've probably also physically felt you several times.
That's true.
Probably.
I know. Our respective dogs, may they rest in peace, have been in each other's houses. I mean, those are moments.
Yeah.
for all of us to remember.
We've at least accidentally bumped into each other several times.
Good to chat with you, Hank, and congrats on the Brockmire run. Congrats on all of that, man. I remember when you first were doing that around the poker table, like legitimately using that voice around the poker table, and now bringing it from the Funny or Die video to IFC, and now the final season on Hulu. Congrats on all that, sir.
Yeah, it was truly workshopped around the card table. And by the way, we got 100 on Rotten Tomatoes every year, but one. We only got one bad review in all 4 years.
Who is that
and
person?
That was one.
Who is that person?
Season.
Who is that person?
Who is that person? I remember who it is because you remember the bad ones. Vern Gay from Newsday. I don't know what was eating him that day, but he was the one person out of 40 some odd It gave the show a back.
Is that right? Not like you hold a grudge or anything, Hank. Not like you.
No. It's not like he should be worried every time he starts his car or anything. It's not like that.
Well, the final season, the Hulu.
One through seasons, maybe shameless. 1 through 3 right now available on Hulu. You can binge them. 22 minutes per 8 episodes per season. You can. That's one quarantine afternoon.
Okay, you can just whip through them all, and then season 4 drops, as the kids say, tomorrow. Fantastic. Well, congrats on all that. Do you want to? You ask the poll question, Hank, here, Christopher. Ask the poll question.
I saw the poll question.
Yeah,
the
what
answer was The Natural.
Oh,
really? You didn't even stutter. The Natural.
No.
Why?
I love that movie. That's one of those movies. Not only is it my favorite baseball movie, but it's one of those movies that goes in my pantheon of if it's on, I will watch it to the end.
Remote drop. A remote drop. Doesn't matter where it is. Doesn't matter where it is. Because Goodfellas is up there with me on that front. The Fugitive is another one of those movies where it doesn't matter. You got to drop the remote. The Natural's that way for you.
Yes, Goodfellas, yes. Godfather 1 and 2, yes. If it's on, I must watch it. But here's if I asked this on Twitter the other day.
Yes.
So there's certain great movies we'll all watch if they're on.
Yes.
Like those are all good movies. Is there any horrible movie that if it's on, I have 2 really bad movies that if they're on, I will watch.
You have the floor, Hank. What do you have?
Cocktail. And then the granddaddy of them all is Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. I was about to say.
They were both on over the weekend. Is that why I said that, Hank?
No, I didn't even know that. I actually have a poster of Roadhouse. I'm looking at it right in front of me. Is my buddy Ernie gave me the painting, from Goodfellas, one dog looking this way, one looking that way.
We were talking about that just last week. Yes, you have that painting in your house?
Looking at that painting right now. Then if I look to my left, I have the poster of Roadhouse. Those are the 2 things in my office.
Oh, my gosh, because we were discussing that Roadhouse, because I had mentioned I have never seen, Hank, Roadhouse credits to credits. I've always dropped in and seen it here and there. I actually pick up the remote after a while. I can't get through it. I just can't.
Oh, I'm the opposite. My God, I can't. I've seen it dozens of times. God, I love it.
Why? Why?
Well, it's bad. It's terrible.
The fights are fun. The fights are fun. The music is fun. Jeff Healey doing a lot of good blues music in it, and it's just so bad. It's good. It's just so horrible. Ben Gazzara doing this crazy over-the-top villain, and Sam Elliott, hitting you in the knee and going, "That hurts, doesn't it?" It's just fantastic. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
Wait, what don't you like about Cocktail?
Yeah,
I love Cocktail's on. It's just I consider it a bad movie, but not a second of it is believable. These 2 bartenders take over the world. I don't understand what the premise is.
But Hank, they're flipping the drinks around as they make a cocktail. They're having
exactly. It's fun. I think I enjoy watching the screenwriter really strain to how is a bartender going to matter in the world for the next 10 pages of the script? I don't know.
What's the most you had to rehearse something like similar to flipping something up in the air for any of the roles that you've done, Hank?
Oh, easily. And Mystery Men, when I played the Blue Raja, I had to actually learn some sleight of hand with fork, making forks appear.
What?
Yeah, I had to actually learn some fork sleight of hand.
You know what? I forgot. I forgot about Mystery Men. So you've been in 2 films with the word mystery in the title. That and Mystery Alaska.
They almost came out concurrently, and they were part of a triple play that nearly ended my career. They all did so poorly. What completes that failure hat trick?
Herman's Head?
No, that was in the early days. That was on the way up. That was like a break, and that got me working.
What was the other one?
The 3 big breaks I got that all went into the toilet almost concurrently were Mystery Alaska, Mystery Men, and Godzilla.
What?
Yeah.
The Matthew Broderick version?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I prefer to think of it as the Hank Azaria version.
Well, maybe people are dropping their remotes because it's too good of a bad movie. Mystery Alaska doesn't get a lot.
I like that movie.
Yeah, Hank.
Not a bad. No, neither is Mystery Men. They're both actually all three are not bad at all. Mystery Men's a very fun movie. It just didn't do very well at the box office. Mystery Alaska is a perfectly fine movie.
Well,
and Godzilla's not as bad as people make it out at all.
Well, thankfully, it's all worked out well for you, Hank, from everything that you've done. Also, The Simpsons is in season 3000, correct? Is that what it is? What's
32. We actually just read our 700th episode.
Come on.
Yeah.
700 episodes? That is absolutely insane. Nothing gets 700 episodes. Nothing. That's totally crazy. Well, and now IFC Brockmire, the fourth season, available on Hulu, just where all seasons 1 through 3. Is it possible that I could get? Is it possible I could get Brockmire on the phone? Is he there, Hank? Is Brockmire there to help us work through a lot of the issues with baseball? Because in the fourth season that drops on Hulu on Tuesday, Brockmire becomes commissioner of baseball in that season, correct?
He does. That's the future. I almost think it might happen. We were so precognitive with season 4.
From the pandemic to
from the pandemic to the disputed lands, to the riots, to the heat, to baseball going away almost. I mean, we called it. It's really almost a little freaky. And there's a couple other predictions we make. Like Joel wrote an amazing episode. A lot of the season is about how a really credible, almost like Black Mirror kind of storyline where an Alexa type, operating system pretty much takes over. And it's really funny and really believable, I think. But yeah, so let me see if I can.
Yeah, would you mind?
As the great Elmer Fudd once said,
yes.
Rich Eisen, he's around here someplace. So let me.
Yeah, just to see if he's there.
And by it also gives me time to pull up the funny things that Jim said. So hold on a second.
See if Jim Brockmire.
Is this Rich Eisen, Jim Brockmire?
Hey, Jim, it's been too long.
My dear friend, my dear follically challenged friend, Rich Eisen. How are you?
It's good to chat with you again, Jim. As you know, I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, and it's just really great to see how everything's worked out for you in the end.
Well, you were there at the beginning, Rich. You did our original short on Funny or Die,
yes.
And then I got my big break when nobody else would touch me.
Yes.
You employed me to.
You were toxic.
To come on your
toxic.
Your NFL show.
That's right.
I went on there. Yes. So thank you. No, I owe it all to you. In the same way that John Travolta is indebted to Quentin Tarantino. I'm indebted to you for revitalizing my career.
I appreciate that, Jim. I'll take that as a compliment. So what do you think of the current Major League Baseball negotiations, Jim?
Well, Rich, I got to hand it to the MLB. You have to, because watching these contract negotiations, it's just highlighted what Major League Baseball is very good at.
What's that?
Because what says baseball more than a boring and unproductive back and forth? I mean, how is it that they have managed to remind everybody in America about the worst aspects of baseball while simultaneously not playing a single game? It's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, whose fault is it, Jim? Do you think it's the owners, the players? Where do you place the blame here?
Oh, I don't. I just want the whole charade of negotiations to just go away and be done, because I'm quite interested in how a 50-game season would play out. It's such a small amount of games.
Yes.
But I think the team that will benefit the most, speaking of horrible owners, would be the New York Mets. Well, because they usually they get your hopes up and then collapse. But with 50 games, no time to collapse. Could be just the hopes up phase. Could be great news for them.
So, just in 50 games, you could just get it all out of the way, is what you're saying, Jim, for the Mets.
Oh, for the Mets, yeah, but that would be really surreal, seeing that. I mean, I would like to see it personally. Because, I mean, somebody's going to win 5 games and get the Cy Young Award. I want to see that. I want to see Mookie Betts win the Dodgers a World Series, but have no fans to see it in person. I want to see that. And I can't wait to see a pitcher properly sanitize a baseball for coronavirus right before throwing it at the head of an Astros batter. I want to see all these things happen.
Broadcasting legend Jim Brockmire, kind enough to hop on the phone here in advance of Brockmire on IFC hitting Hulu starting on Tuesday, just like all the 3 previous seasons. But maybe there'll be crowd noise pumped into a stadium, right? Isn't that a possibility? Jim?
That is possible. I'm excited to see that too. Games without fans in the stands. There are quite like if you do pipe in that crowd noise, so it sounds like a normal game. I'm afraid of the sounds that will be played in Boston. I think a recording of the fans at Fenway will need the same kind of disclaimer they're going to give to Gone with the Wind now. Just like this recording's from a different time. People didn't know better 10 months ago. Please forgive us. They're going to make it authentic.
Jim Brockmire, man, oh man. Look, man, I'm just I'm thrilled again with what's happened for you, and I know this may be something you weren't planning on talking about, but you and Musburger, have you buried the hatchet, or is that still, despite everything that's gone down and your journey as a human that we've all seen play out over the 4 seasons of Brockmire? Are you and Musburger still on feuding from all those years?
Well, Rich Eisen, it's very difficult to bury the hatchet with a man who thought it was funny to poop in your hotel room bed. You know what I mean?
I saw that on an episode that he
that was true. In fact, in season 4, we kind of flash forward 12 years into the future, and as you say, Brockmire's commissioner of baseball. He finally gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and he's having a little bit of difficulty finding someone to give his intro speech.
Yes.
He's scrambling around looking at the guest list to see who's there that day, and he goes down the list. He's like, oh, no, can't ask Musburger. He pooped in my bed. So did Eisen. So did Levitard. So did Dan Patrick. Boy, this list is a regular who's who of pillow poo, says Jim Brockmire. So I guess over the next 12 years, you will go on to poop in Jim Brockmire's bed as well.
By the way, that's something to look forward to. I can look forward to that, Jim. I can really do that.
Yeah, I think the idea was selling is that after, and I hope this is not for a long time, but after Brent Musburger passes, it becomes a way to honor his memory, is to poop in my bed.
Well, Jim, congrats on the show. Really appreciate you hopping on. Would you put Hank back on the phone for a quick second so I could say a proper goodbye to him, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk to him, he's a little boring, but sure.
Okay, thank you. There you go.
Hey, Rich Eisen. Oh, boy, I hope Jim Brockmire behaves himself. That's
you know
all
what, Hank? It really was great. I hope you didn't mind me asking just specifically to have Jim on the phone like that.
No. Listen, I'm quite used to. Listen, I used to be married to Helen Hunt. I'm used to somebody else taking the lead, being the star of the family. I'm used to it.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, Hank, but we went down this day in history to see what to talk about, and that's what led to our poll question. It was 32 years ago today that Bull Durham was in theaters for the first time. Whose birthday is it today?
Hey, Hank. It's Helen Hunt's birthday today.
Are you aware?
Well, how? That must be buried deep in the recesses of my subconscious that I brought her up. That's amazing. I'm just glad I went there first.
Yes. I waited.
You opened the door.
I waited until you brought her up.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Hello?
Is she there?
She hasn't answered in over 20 years, so something's definitely wrong between the two of us.
Well, oddly enough, it's the same thing with my ESPYs invite.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Yes, Hank.
Well, The Natural is my favorite baseball movie.
Yes, sir.
What is your favorite sports movie? I have a definitive favorite sports movie.
We've been talking about
this a lot over the last few weeks. It's Hoosiers, Hank. It's Hoosiers.
Right? A total agreement.
And, well, here's the issue, Hank, is we had the director of Hoosiers and Rudy on, David Onspach, because he heard me slag on Rudy, calling it pure fiction, and that never has the word based on a true story done more heavy lifting. He came on and said, no, that's compared to other sports movies, it's like a Ken Burns documentary, and then proceeded to tell, Hank, how Hoosiers, other than the fact that the school, Hickory, had won a championship, that the writer, Angelo Pizzo, visited the town and said, it's such a boring story. Nothing happened. We can't do the movie. The whole thing's made up. Everything about it is made up, is what he said.
Well, I don't care. They made it up well.
And how about this one? How about this one? This is the thing that really gutted me. I asked him if he had to twist Hackman's arm to make the movie, Hank. He said that Hackman was, did he use the word difficult? Because it was his first movie, David Onspop.
Yeah, Hackman was very difficult.
Hackman was so not into the film that, do you remember the montage when Hickory starts winning? And you see, you see, with the music and everything's going well, and you see the character played by Dennis Hopper laughing and slapping his knee. You remember that? He said that he learned 2 years before Hopper died. Hopper told him what Hopper's laughing at is Hackman saying to him off camera, "I hope you've invested well, because once this movie comes out, we're never going to have a career anymore."
But there's so many stories like that. You know that Burt Reynolds was going to fire his agents after he saw a cut of Boogie Nights?
No.
They screened it for him. He was like, "I'm firing everyone who works for me." How did anyone? He's watching the finished product now. He's like, I will. This is an abomination. How did these people let me do this? Boogie Nights, he was nominated for it.
I know, and he left the set of Mystery Alaska to go to that Academy Awards, right, Hank?
Which is a whole nother story.
Can you please tell like an abridged version of that story?
Oh boy, I know, because now I'll be dishonoring a man's memory. Let's just say he was very, 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 very cranky that night.
That he left?
And he wasn't shy about it. Yeah.
Oh man, Hank, you're the best. Best to Kate and your whole family, and we'll chat soon.
Take care. Great to talk to you.
That's Henry Azaria. That's Hank Azaria.
The best.
The greatest.
The best.
At Hank Azaria on both Twitter and Instagram. Check out, again, on Hulu, as Brockmire would say, seasons 1 through now, soon to be 4. 844-204-RICH. When we come back, let's dial up the director of Bull Durham, Ron Shelton. Hold on. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here's Musburger Brockmire from our history right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on. Brett Musburger and the Brockmire legendary SmackDown that we learned about years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Remember we learned about that on our podcast?
We did.
Years ago?
Yeah, we did.
Hold on a second. Let me get Ron Shelton's number to our call screener as well. This is
the pronunciation of Kent Herbeck.
Kent Herbeck. Okay, here we go. What is going on with you, Jim Brockmire and Brett Musburger?
This is my Musburger face. Brett Musburger is a punk punk. The man is a thief, okay? Brett Musburger is a thief.
How so?
Stole my line.
What line was that?
This is for all the Tostitos. That's what I always yell when I climax inside of a woman. Now I have to yell out, Ruffles have ridges, and it's not the same thing.
Musburger responded, "Yo, Buckmire or whatever, saw your pathetic performance on the Eisen show. Your ex whispered to me you always screamed for all the Tostitos prematurely." So Hank responded moments ago, telling Musburger who's number one. Bob, how would you try to broker the peace here?
Obama once famously had a beer summit between the policeman and Henry Louis Gates.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they need to meet not only over a six-pack, but a gigantic bowl of Tostitos and hash this thing out.
Here is Brett Musburger. How are you, Brent?
I'm so proud of you guys for trying to help resurrect little Jimmy Brickmeyer's career. We all know the problems. We all know the problem.
He says that you stole all the Tostitos from him, Brent. Is that true? Or
what's he talking about? Mm-hmm. You know, Rich, it's really interesting because as we started piecing in here, in Las Vegas, and Brockmire was having trouble getting a job. So our general manager, he interviewed Brockmire and asked him about a 3-team parlay. And our boy, Jimmy, he thought that was 2 hookers with him in a Morristown hotel room. Wish him the best. He's so delusional. And listen, let him go at it. For all the Tostitos, baby.
Podcast One is how you can get our podcast every single day, and what a fun show this has been. Tom Verducci, Jay Bilas, Chris Haynes, and we just hung out with Hank Azaria. And we've been talking all day long about Bull Durham because it was it 32 years ago today?
1988.
Wow, first hit of theater. One of the greatest movies of all time, period. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the phone line. He's kind enough to call in, and he's one of the favorite people that my wife and I have met here in Los Angeles. But he's the director of Bull Durham and other great films. He is none other than Ron Shelton. How are you, Ron?
Well, I'm glad you called, Rich, because I can stop watching the Nebraska State Cornhole Championship for the 4th time.
How does it turn out, Ron? I don't mind it being spoiled. How does it turn out?
The fat guy beats the other fat guy.
Those guys are really good at cornhole.
Yeah. I guess happy anniversary, Ron. 32 years ago today.
I didn't know. It's pretty frightening that it was that long. You know, we were just I had no idea that the movie would be received the way it has been. And, you know, it was my first movie as a director. You just hope somebody goes to the theater so you can get another job. And so it really was a glorious shock how well it played.
Yeah, when did you first realize it was going to, you had a hit on your hands, Ron?
Well, the reviews were great, and you never quite know. It didn't test all that well, which is strange because audiences laughed and cheered and then wrote on the cards 47 ways I could make it better. So we weren't sure, but it did great out of the box, and it just kind of chugged along all summer. So after the second weekend, when people kept going, it didn't go down. We thought we were in good shape.
Did everyone you want to be cast in the roles get the gigs, or is there somebody that you wanted that didn't make it, or vice versa?
No, we got everybody. It was a long process. I had Kevin because I showed him the script, and he was on board. And every woman 40 did a great audition for Annie. It was amazing. And then when Susan got the part and was, couldn't imagine anybody else. But the Nuke LaLoosh part was hard to cast, to be honest, because a lot of guys looked like young versions of Kevin, and you couldn't have young Kevin and older Kevin. So we had to find somebody who was completely different and lovable and goofy. And and Tim had never been in a movie. He'd actually been in Howard the Duck, but he didn't tell us. Remember, that was the biggest flop of all time. So he told us he had never been in a show, but he'd been in one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, we had Tom Verducci on before, Ron. The baseball reporter overheard us talking about this. He said the current Braves manager lent his his catcher's mitt for Kevin in this film. Is that a true story? I never heard that one before. Snitker? Yeah.
Snitker, yeah. Snitker, there was a bunch of guys. Grady Little was the manager of the actual Durham Bulls, and we came in to shoot right after the season was over. And he was just a guy like Crash Davis at the end of our movie, grinding it out. And so I met him, and I said, can you find some minor league ball players and college ball players who are needing a couple of months' work and run the baseball? And so Grady Little ran the baseball for us long before he became the manager of the Dodgers and the Red Sox. And Snitker somehow was around and maybe in the minor leagues because that was a Braves organization, Durham in those days. And somehow we got his glove. I mean, I've stayed in touch with Snit over the years, and So it's in this case, he's not lying.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. So what would you consider the best baseball movie of all time, Ron?
You mean not getting mine? You know what I love is I'm pretty tough on baseball movies. I love the original Bad News Bears, to be honest.
Yes.
And then later I coached Little League and discovered to be really way too much like Walter Matthau.
Were you having a tumbler or two in the dugout? Is that what you're saying, Ron?
Oh, the league put an ankle bracelet around me. I was like Earl Weaver, and they told me I couldn't come out of the dugout.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
So I finally retired when my son got old enough I could free him from the tyranny of a father.
But you love Bad News Bears. Anything else? Because the other ones that we chose.
Baseball movies are hard. You know, I mean, I think there's good things about a lot of them. The sports movies I like are kind of been around for a while. The Hustler is one of my top movies. The pool movie, if that's a sports movie.
Okay.
There's a great boxing movie that very few people have seen called Fat City. It introduced a guy named Jeff Bridges, and it's kind of the lower rungs of boxing. I recommend it to anybody if you can find it on Netflix. Fat City. This Sporting Life is a English rugby movie with Richard Harris that just kills me every time.
You're going deep here, Ron. That's deep. Okay.
That's going deep. It's hard for me to watch sports movies because I'm hypercritical.
I bet. I bet you are. Well, Hoosiers is up there for me.
Yeah,
I love that. We had David Onspaw the other day talking about Hoosiers and Rudy and what's real and what's not, and I guess that's what makes a great sports movie. What you're describing, certainly with Bull Durham, is to what's real, and it just feels so real when you watch this. It's like you're watching behind the scenes, just as in a comedy and a love story form. It stands the test of time.
I've said before, Rich, I can't. A filmmaker can't compete with television, and he's a fool to try because sports on television is just off the charts, and it's 17 cameras and replay from 17 angles, and you can't do that. But what I can do is I can put my one camera all the places those 17 cameras can't go, and that's all I try to do. Go on the bus trips, go to the home, go to the locker, go to the shower, go in the apartment with the guy and the girl or doing whatever they're doing, and get in the manager's office, and that's I can go where TV can't, and that's where I live.
All right, last one for you, Ron. If you could make a sequel for any of your sports movies, which one would you endeavor? Which one would you do it for?
I'm trying to make a movie about a former Major League Baseball star who tries to make it on the golf tour. The way that guys like Mike Schmidt and Bench and a lot of guys do, Schmaltz, and it would sort of be the end of the Bull Durham 10-Cup trilogy. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Are you? You're not joking. This is what you're trying to do right now. I can tell when you're serious.
Yeah, Kevin Costner wants to do it. We're putting it together. It takes a little while because
sure,
it just does because it's not a Marvel comic book.
Well, I see. I love you, Ron. You are the best. Thanks for the call. I would see that, by the way. All of us we all sat straight up in our chairs. Everyone
Sign
would
me up.
Yeah, we would do it.
All right, and hi to your beautiful bride.
Right back at you. Thank you. That's the great Ron Shelton. You bet. Oh my gosh. Right?
Amazing.
In. Costner, Shelton together. Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll go in the tower. Fantastic.
That sounds great. That sounds like a great movie.
Bull Durham, 32 years ago today.
Yeah, like I said, you could argue what Ron's best sports movie is: White Man Can't Jump, Tin Cup, and Bull Durham.
I think it's Bull Durham. Mikey in Norfolk, Virginia. Let's sneak in this last phone call. What's up, Mikey?
Hi. My name is Mikey, and I'd like to ask about why Barry Bonds still holds the record for the most home runs.
How old are you, Mikey?
I'm 11.
Okay, and you want to know why? Why do you want to know that? What do you mean by that? Why does he still? Do you think he should not have the record? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, because he used steroids.
Okay. And where'd you learn about this?
Sports Center and just all the sports stuff.
Okay. So I think he still does because nobody's ever proved it, Mikey. That's why. Do you think he hasn't admitted it and no one's ever proved it? Do you think he should not have the record?
No, I don't know.
Okay. And what's your favorite baseball team, Mikey?
I like the Nationals.
Okay. Well, then, congratulations. You enjoyed watching that World Series last year, I bet, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for holding on for as long as you did, and appreciate your call. Please call back, Mikey.
All right.
You got it.
Thank you, sir.
You bet it. Thank you.
Hey, Mikey.
Youth of America.
Hey, Mikey.
I love it. My name's Mikey.
I mean,
when we were kids, Mikey liked the cereal.
Mikey liked the Life.
Life cereal,
Right?
right?
I said the
I thought it was
Life.
Kicks.
No,
No,
Mikey
it was
liked
Mikey
Life.
liked Life.
I
Hey,
got-
Lay Mikey,
I
he
got
likes it.
tormented
He
with
would
that.
eat it.
Oh, they used to make
And then there
fun
was a
of
scurrilous rumor involving Pop Rocks years later.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, the Pop Rocks.
Hey, stop.
Okay.
Mikey could be listening.
Yes.
The one I'm referring to is now probably my age.
I was just going to say. He's
And the
already-
11-year-old Mikey who wants sports to be clean. Let's do it for him. Final poll results over there, Christopher. What do you got?
Yeah, Major League wins this one, guys. 42%.
How about that? You didn't even want it in there. You didn't even want it.
Well, it's a character.
Thanks for taking in this show. We appreciate all our guests joining us today. We will be back at noon Eastern tomorrow on NBCSN.
It's very bad. Still Joe Bruce well.